Welcome back to Movies TV Mad. You can follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Mad. And welcome to Thursday's edition of the DC Universe Daily. And today we are live because I woke up this morning and I was thinking, and I saw the exclusive from Boris Kitten, the Hollywood Reporter, and I thought, yes, exactly what I wanted. Just think about this for a minute. I'll read Film Goblin's comment in a minute because it's very interesting. Do you know how many views I had on yesterday's DC Universe Daily? 26 measly views, 3 or 4 measly likes. I appreciate those 4 likes. Thank you to the loyal people who did that. But isn't it interesting? Someone with 26 likes on their last YouTube studio who has not been shilling, who has not been kissing the butt of James Gunn. You're the bestest ever, James. I mean, you haven't done anything yet, but you're the bestest ever. You just posted a famous cover of a comic book. You are the best, James Gunn. No, I've been working hard, talking to my sources, seeing what's going on. And I pre-warned you about this a long time ago. Now, yesterday, in the past couple of videos, I've been losing hope in a total DC Universe reboot where we can start again and move away from the clusterfuck that is the DCEU. We're going to read this Boris Kit article very shortly. Film Goblin. I guess you called it. Gal ain't going to play Wonder Woman without Patty directing it, and that's not a good look for her, unfortunately. Well, Gal Gadot, like everyone in Hollywood, because they've all got the same DNA, just care about money, success, and doing the job. So she'll have no loyalty to Patty Jenkins. So if James and Peter want her to continue as Wonder Woman, she will continue. And Patty Jenkins, look, this is by the way, let's just get this clear. This is the correct decision to bin Wonder Woman free. Everyone has been binning Patty Jenkins, even Kathleen Kennedy at Lucasfilm. The creatively bankrupt Kathleen Kennedy won't go near Gal Gadot anymore ever since she saw Wonder Woman 84. So Film Goblin, is that how you say your name? Right? This is the correct decision. This makes me very happy. I like Patty. I've met her before. She's a wonderful, polite, lovely, charming lady. And I believe she has got a talent, but not in mainstream kind of movies and entertainment. She's a nice lady. I have no hatred towards Patty. She's never done me any harm. But she was going to do DC harm. Wonder Woman 84 simply wasn't good enough. It was an embarrassment. And the old leadership gave her Wonder Woman free, greenlit that film, even like on the evening of the first opening release of Wonder Woman 84. It was ridiculous. So if this is true, this is absolutely the right decision. So if I've just gone in there without explaining things, yes. There are rumors from the Hollywood Reporter that the DC Universe will be a total reboot and we could be losing Henry Cavill. And apparently they've unlocked the Flash movie again to make some changes to it. I don't know if that's true. We're going to read the article very, very shortly. So basically, DC Twitter has been spending weeks and weeks kissing the butt of James Gunn. Now their tune is going to change. Personally, I've been a little bit negative about James Gunn recently. Now, I love James Gunn. I love the way he interacts and stuff. But I'm not going to celebrate anyone who just wants to take the E out of DCEU, call it DC Universe, and carry on with the creative bankruptcy from before. So if this is a total reboot, they have my support. They have the support of my nieces and nephews and loads of kids and the audience that they need. Because, you know, Black Adam, by the way, let's get into Black Adam before we get into this. More bullshit from The Rock, right? Think about this. There was a Deadline.com article about actually the Black Adam movie not being a flop and not losing 100 million, in fact, making a 70 million profit. And The Rock arrogantly came in, quote tweeting this, confirming this, that actually there's loads of plans for spin-offs from the Black Adam movie, which I think is ridiculous, by the way. It's not what I want. I don't want these spin-offs. I want a fresh start. So, it would be an absolute terrible look. Now, I'm pretty sure that The Rock and his company are developing spin-offs for Black Adam, but they haven't been greenlit. And I think that's where we are now. But isn't it interesting? A few hours before this THR exclusive, he got his mates at Deadline.com to start talking about this. It doesn't matter that it made a 70 million profit. This is DC. DC won a huger profit from their DC films. And they put Henry Cavill's Superman in a post-credit scene. This could have sealed Henry's fate as Superman because it didn't uplift the movie. That's why Henry was there, to uplift this movie. And I saw it coming, didn't I? I told you. But only 26 people watch my videos, right? People are not interested in what I've got to say because I'm not stroking your fucking shield egos and I'm just speaking from the fucking heart, right? But I'm giving you facts. I'm telling you again, I got it right. I got it fucking right. And I told you. And I was talking about the things DC fans should be talking about, but they're too busy atting James Gunn so they can get a like and a retweet. Flipping losers. And now you're all upset because the things you thought you were going to get, you're probably not going to get. But let me just warn you about this article. It may not be totally accurate. And I'm sure James will come out, but I think him and Zaslav and Zafran are kind of like talking about how to respond to this first of all. Hashling me, I think that thing they referred to the script. Maybe the story doesn't fit with the new vision, so there is a possibility that it's still in the works and they still want to review it and it here and there. Listen, Hashling me, Patty Jenkins will not be directing the next Wonder Woman movie. This is what I said. This is what a good studio does. There's no way she should be anywhere near that film. So let's see. Because I discussed this yesterday in the video before. They either rebrand the DCEU, knock the E out and call it DC Universe, or they do the right decision and start again. But we will see. Because I'm still not convinced they're going to start totally again. After all, he's working on a Peacemaker too. So how can this be a total reboot? Let's see. The Legend CJ just woke up. Wait, so Cavill is out and we're starting over. We don't know. Again, this is an article from Boris, one of the best entertainment journalists, but it doesn't mean he's right. So apparently, according to this article, we're going to get into the article, there was a scene for Henry Cavill shot for the Flash movie, but it may not be used anymore. I warned you about this because he didn't uplift the box office of Black Adam. Maybe they fought again. Very interesting, but very indecisive as well. It's not a good way to swing, is it? But I did warn you about Zaslav, that all his decisions would primarily be through box office and how much money the last film made. So you're going to get a lot of indecisiveness. I would warn James Gunn and Peter Safran, if every movie doesn't make $1 billion, you could get binned too. This is where we are. Zaslav is ruthless. So let's get into this article. And we're going to do a pre-recorded video later so I can talk about The Rock's bullshit in creative accounting and I can talk about this properly. But right now we're fielding comments. Ask me your questions. This is a very concerning time for DC fans. I can understand that. I'm surprised I've even got 5 of you on the live chat. So stay here and let me give you the details before you go off and start making it up as you go along. Let's get some context here. Now, I've got a very old tablet here, so it's not great. So you're going to have to bear with me. So, Patty Jenkins' Wonder Woman 3 not moving forward as DC Movies hits turning point. Exclusive by Boris Kitt. New DC Studios heads James Gunn and Peter Safran are in the final stages of prepping their multi-year plan ahead of next week's pivotal presentation to Warner Brothers Discovery CEO David Zaslav. Call it DC Rebirth, DC Genesis, maybe call it an Identity Crisis or Flashpoint. These titles of past DC Comics event series aptly describe the state of Warner Brothers DC movies, which are on the cusp of a new era, but not before a potentially messy transition period. And that's a transition period I've been talking about with these 4 movies coming out next year. So where are we? Hashling me, but The Rock posts something about the whole profit and might be right on the other hand. It seems like he's so desperate to prove them wrong. Right, Hashling me, right? Look, Black Adam's made nearly 400 million. It didn't cost 400 million to make Black Adam and market Black Adam. But the profit margin is too small. Even if he's right about his 75 million profit margin, it's not enough. This is a DC movie. Short Circuit, it's sad of Gal Gadot is not playing. Right, let me read this article. Look, you shouldn't take this as a Bible. So we need to wait and see. And I'm not necessarily sure if Gal Gadot is out as Wonder Woman. So let's keep, by the way, the other day, don't forget she knows more than you do. And the other day she was looking forward. But then again, the Batgirl directors were looking forward to releasing Batgirl the next day. Before they were even consulted, Batgirl was shelved. So who knows? Actors are the last people to know. A cleaning of the slate is common when a new executive team is put in place to run a studio or division, but there is likely little precedent for the amount of Clorox James Gunn and Peter Safran could spray as they prepare to launch DC Studios and guide superhero movies for the next half-decade and beyond. The duo in recent days flew back to Los Angeles from the snowy city of Aspen, Colorado, where they were huddled in deep planning and now, like holy figures coming down from the mountaintop, have sets of commandments or a DC Bible in hand, or at least a working blueprint. Gunn and Safran are expected to meet next week with David Zaslav, the Warner Brothers Discovery CEO, who is radically reshaping the media company and who hired the duo in October to lead a newly launched film and TV division. The pair will unveil to Zaslav a plan that is expected to lay out their vision, although much of their plan, which insiders paint as still a work in progress and one that has yet to be approved, is being kept deep in the Batcave. Details of several possible paths forward and are trickling out, and at least one path not being taken has also been revealed. It's interesting, you know, because imagine if Zaslav doesn't like Gunn's and Safran's plan and they just get the sack. He's that ruthless, you know, so it's very, look, I'm not suggesting that's going to happen, but this guy is ruthless. Short Circuit, I hope James Gunn comes forward and clarifies every rumor, because these rumors will only make DC lose its fans. Well, listen, Short Circuit, I'm a supporter of starting from the beginning. That's the only way we could be successful. And I know a lot of you DC fans don't really understand that. But, you know, you're not making, you DC fans who want things to stay the same, you're not making enough money. You know, you guys went and saw Black Adam in your droves. What did you make the film? You're not enough. So it's not just about DC fans, it's about the general audience. Right, DC fans are important. We all are important, of course we are. But, you know, DC fans went and saw Black Adam and said, best movie ever. I saw a movie that I enjoyed, but it was a fucking mess. Abraham Herrera, James better pray that this plan works. Well, here's the thing, Abraham. The last plan's not working, is it? Hashling me. I heard Aquaman will only have 2 movies, so from there on, Momoa might be Lobo. Maybe. Multiple sources tell The Hollywood Reporter that Patty Jenkins' Wonder Woman 3 is not moving forward and is considered dead in its current incarnation. Listen, if they've said to her, now I told you that she was talking, right, the other day, right, she was talking about her script nearly being finished, that the studio wanted her to do more and more and more. But I said it was the old leadership she was talking about and not the current leadership. And why does she come out anyway? Sources say that Jenkins recently submitted her treatment co-written with Jeff Johns, and that Gunn and Safran, as well as Warner Brothers Pictures co-chairs and co-CEOs Michael DeLuca and Pam Rabi, broke the news to the filmmaker, telling her the project as it stood did not fit in with the new but still unfolding plans. Jenkins, she's playing up. Sorry about that. Yeah, right. Where are we? Yeah. Telling her the project as it stood did not fit in with the new but still unfolding plans. Jenkins directed and co-wrote the previous 2 movies starring Gal Gadot and released in 2017 and 2020. No decision has been made about next steps. So she's been told her script doesn't fit in with the new plan. Should I tell you what's really funny here? She's been writing a script, right? She must have been writing this script. Now, as they came in, she was probably just about to finish it. But surely she knew. Surely she must have known that she's been writing a script under a previous leadership. So there may be a problem here. But I think Patty Jenkins is done. And that's quite right too. Where are we? Hashling me, I heard Abraham Herrera with Avatar and Top Gun being the biggest movies this year. I think it's safe to say superhero fatigue is here. Well, we don't know about Avatar right now, Short Circuit, but I get your point, Abraham, and I've been saying it for a while. I think we need a cultural reset in Hollywood. We can't live off superhero movies. They can still be a thing, but they can't be the thing. Short Circuit, I think there will be new superheroes coming at some point. Henry Cavill, Superman, Gal Gadot, Wonder Woman, and other Snyderverse cast comes back and fight these guns new superheroes, setting up Kingdom Come. Hashling me, how about a Man of Steel 2? Is it still happening? Well, we don't know. We don't know if it was ever happening. Nobody said it was happening from the studio. So Henry spoke too soon. Didn't I say it though? Didn't I say this to you? That Henry Cavill was speaking too soon and he should have kept his mouth shut. Didn't I tell you that? And that other people, like when I was saying James Gunn is talking too much and teasing too much, and he's leading people into a false sense of security, right? And now this comes out. I'm assuming they didn't expect this to come out, which is a problem to them because they need to sell next year's movies, which have nothing to do with their plan, quite clearly. So it's a bit of a mess. And Henry Cavill spoke too much. And I think that was to promote Enola Holmes 2 as well, which was wrong. Jonathan Garcia, I don't think they'll do a full reboot because the Suicide Squad and Peacemaker Gunn wouldn't want to erase his own work. Well, here's the thing, Jonathan. That would be very, very messy then. And this is the mess I've been warning about. You either start again or you don't. It's as simple as that. But I will be here to speak out about things I don't agree with. Abraham Herrera, you did predict this, Mick. Right on. Well, 26 views on my last video. Pathetic. 3 or 4 likes. And I know what's going on, and all the shills, home of DCU, the Flash Film News, who told you the Flash movie was locked. What did home of DCU tell you this morning or recently? They said, well, it's been locked up until now. No, you fucking liars. You lied because you're biased and you've been coming out saying that Ezra Miller is innocent, blah, 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 and you lost. Short Circuit, I don't think Henry's going anywhere. The Rock wants Black Adam versus Superman. Yeah, The Rock's not going to get what he wants. The Rock doesn't run anything, my friend. The Rock is a very deluded person. What does it matter what The Rock wants? The Rock isn't the CEO of Warner Brothers Discovery, is it? Hashling me, I'm worried that he erases another project like his own. In fact, his project is still part of the old regime. Yeah, so it's a bit of a mess. I agree, Hashling me. Right. Sources say that Jenkins recently submitted her treatment, co-written with Jeff Johns and then Gunn and Safran as well. We've read that. And while costs are not a factor, insiders say that DC Studios will not have any overburdensome financial restrictions. The studio could end up saving tens of millions of dollars by not making the first installment. Gadot, according to sources, was on track for a $20 million payday for Wonder Woman 3, while Jenkins would have received $12 million. Those figures don't include any possible back-end bonuses. Right. This is not about money. Let's be absolutely clear. This is not about money. So this is a typical Boris Kit article in a lot of ways. Right, let's get rid of this. Thank you. Hashling. Even The Rock wants to take on Barry's Joker. Yeah, The Rock will say anything, my friend. The Rock, don't listen to The Rock. What The Rock says isn't relevant. Short Circuit, if the cast changes, DC would be more messy. I don't agree, Short Circuit. I hope I am wrong, but I absolutely love the DC cast. It's really sad to hear these rumors that casts are changing really sad. We don't know if that. We shouldn't run away with ourselves. This is just an article. This is not factual. Here's the thing. Henry Cavill was in a post-credit scene of Black Adam. Black Adam didn't even make $400 million. Think about that. So isn't it the right decision to start from scratch in a way? Because the DCEU hasn't worked. It hasn't made enough money. We know that. And, you know, all the people who are saying we don't want change are the people going to see these movies who are not making WB enough money. This is not just about DC shills. This is about the general audience. You need the general audience, and they're not interested in DC right now. Hashling me. He said that in one of the Black Adam interview. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what he said. What he says is irrelevant. He hasn't got any control over anything, my friend. Jonathan Garcia, wasn't there news on Hawkman getting a spin-off? In development. I suspect it hasn't been greenlit. In an article a few hours before the Hollywood Reporter exclusive. We're back to where we were a few years ago. We were celebrating James Gunn being in control of the narrative, and all of a sudden, Jonathan Garcia, yeah, Hollywood Reporter isn't 100% correct. We don't know. We don't know. But it is very, very interesting that the Hollywood Reporter, a respected publication, are speaking about things that I've been speaking about. Someone with 26 views on my last video, by the way, because DC shills don't want to listen to the truth. They want to listen to James Gunn, kissy, kissy, James Gunn. Nobody wants to listen to editorials. No fans. Fans are just interested in 5-minute videos. That's not me. With edits and garnish and music and videos of the films. That isn't me. If you want to be kept up to date, if you want to be fed facts, if you want opinion-based content, this is the place to be. If you just want to be lied to and told what you want, right, is going to happen when it's not, then go somewhere else. But here, you will be informed. It's up to you at the end of the day. Do you want to live a fucking lie? Hashling me, do you think it's the better decision to make JSA movie rather than Black Adam? We can save it for Shazam sequels, but here we are. I think a JSA movie would have been a much better movie. Black Adam should never have been a movie. Black Adam should have been the villain in Shazam. We all know that. It's been a disaster in the box office. The movie is a badly made movie. I enjoyed it, but it's a badly made movie. And again, the general audience didn't support it. Short circuit. All these happened due to Weed and Justice League. Of that would not have come. All these things would not have taken place. It's really tough being a DC fan. Well, I don't think you can just blame Joss Whedon and Justice League for this situation. But they did try that before. A backdoor reboot that was never going to work. You know, binning what Zack had did. The Legend CJ. If this is the case, then might as well throw it all out and start from scratch. That's what I would do. Hashling me, we can say Black Adam as Shazam's villain in the third movie. Abraham Herrera, now I realise The Rock is a product, but sadly a product that isn't popular anymore. The big bodybuilder type star is kind of extinct. Listen, if Arnie was 30 years old today, people would still go and see his movies. Same with Sly. This guy isn't Arnie or Sly. Make no mistake, this is not the 21st century Sly Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger, right? He's a little bit popular, he talks too much, and he has an ego. He ain't the same class. He only thinks he is, and he's deluding himself. He's trying to push. He's trying to manipulate fans to demand for more from Black Adam. So if he's right that he's going to get more spin-offs, then we're not getting a total reboot, are we? I personally think it's a bad look to start doing spin-offs from a movie that didn't make much money. But there you go. The Legend CJ, I think with Blue Beetle, it can be part of the new DCU and cut off the DCEU references, which is just a rebranded DC universe, isn't it? And let's not forget, everyone's shilling Blue Beetle, but that's made by the old league. What's going to be different with that movie? No Ted Cold, no Booster Gold. Really? Really? A Blue Beetle without Booster Gold? But I know 30% fucking subtitles. Aren't we woke? Aren't we cold? Yeah. No, thank you. I personally think that DC fans need to wise up. There's a lot of DC fans who don't get it. And it's a shame that you don't listen to people with knowledge and you just go off on what you want. And you don't listen and you shill and you think you're going to get what you want just because you want it. You're not listening. You're not paying attention. It's important to listen. Listen when people are speaking to you. Short circuit. I don't think bodybuilder star is extinct. Well, John Cena portrayed Peacemaker, my personal opinion. Listen, John Cena isn't Arnold Schwarzenegger, but he's a great actor. He did a great job. He did a better job with Peacemaker than The Rock did with Black Adam. Let's be factual about that, right? So I like John. And John follows me on Twitter. John follows nearly everyone on Twitter. That's mad, right? But yeah, John is actually a more talented person than The Rock. Let's get that clear. So where are we? So we continue with this article. Listen before you run off and make your own minds up. Warner's had no comment. It is unclear how any future Wonder Woman movie and Gadot's portrayal of the hero would fit into the new DC plan. That's interesting. In a bit of a head-scratching timing, Gadot tweeted out of the blue a thank you to fans on Tuesday, saying she was grateful to be allowed to play the heroine and role model, adding, "Can't wait to share her next chapter with you." It was unclear whether or not the actress knew the project was being toe-tagged. Well, as I say, actors know very little. Actors, always the last to know. I'm an actor, not a successful like Hollywood one, but actors are the last to know. So she wouldn't know jack shit anyway. So the rest of the DC slate remains in flux, or at least being kept deep in a pocket of Gunn's own utility belt, and there are several rumors and possible scenarios to consider ahead of next week's meeting. The first, which builds on the shuttering of Jenkins' Wonder Woman 3, something we spoke about yesterday and something I told you needed to happen, and it's happened. So literally, think about this, a video with 26 views, right? I was talking about Wonder Woman 3 yesterday, out of the blue. Why was I talking about Wonder Woman 3 out of the blue when nobody was talking about it? Maybe I knew this was coming. Maybe I know stuff, but nobody's interested in my videos. Maybe I'm ugly. I don't know what it is. It's a bit people, right, are not interested in someone without any videos, any music, any garnish, right? Oh, and I'm not American. Hi, here I'm American, yeah. And I know all about fucking Hollywood because I was sacked once from Hollywood. No. I'm the person talking about what needs to be spoken about, and people need to start listening and watch it. Derpy 50, Snyderverse is dead buried. Tell me, Snyder cultist fans, do you cry? You will. Well, tell me, Hamada Shields, do you cry? You will. Ezra Miller fanboys, you will cry. You will. It can go, look, Derpy 50, 501 ST can go always. Everything you know is going to be dead. And it looks like a fresh start. That's the best news I've had. Right. The first, which builds on the shuttering of Jenkins' Wonder Woman 3, is the closing curtain of the Snyderverse. Well, actually, it's not a closing curtain of the Snyderverse. The Snyderverse has been closed since Zack Snyder's Justice League. So that's nonsense. And the heroes cast by filmmaker Zack Snyder for his Justice League. This one sees the shutting down of Man of Steel 2, with a returning of Henry Cavill and having no more Aquaman fronted by Jason Momoa. So they're saying Henry Cavill won't be back, Gal Gadot won't be back. That's what they're trying to say here. And they're saying Jason Momoa won't be back as Aquaman. Now, when those other rumors were coming out, I said that it was possible that maybe Jason Momoa could be playing a new character within the DC universe, and that's why he was singing Gunn's praises. It's all starting to make sense now. But again, make no assumptions because we don't know. But this is Boris Kitt, a respectable journalist. But it doesn't mean he's always right. Anyway, these characters are to cameo in Flash, the highly anticipated time travel adventure movie that is due to release June the 16th. Cavill shot his part of the cameo in September, but sources say there is a debate inside the studios whether or not to keep the cameo if its inclusion promises something that the studio would have no plans on delivering. Now, this is interesting, by the way. This is very interesting, by the way, because I think they could be taking quite a few things out of that movie. This is what I've been talking about. What you do with that movie, keep it as it is, or remove stuff so you don't give people false hope. Something else this channel, with very few interactions, has been discussing. Short Circuit, if it can happen that Wonder Woman 3 did not fit Gunn's plan, that's why it's cancelled. Maybe Gal Gadot will continue to play Wonder Woman. Maybe. Who knows? Derpy 501 ST, I'm happy it's going that way. Derpy 501 ST, referencing a quote from Batman vs. Superman, making fun of it because I'm a fan of the news with James Gunn in charge. Well, I'm also a fan of the Snyderverse, my friend. And, you know, people like yourself, and look, you're welcome on the channel to give your opinions, of course you are. But all this James Gunn love, have you seen James Gunn's DC movies yet? I mean, have you seen the new Vision yet? You haven't. So I've seen like people like yourself going on Twitter, oh my God, James Gunn, point your butt cheek here, can I kiss it? Wait, instead of telling him he's the bestest ever, wait until you taste the pudding, right? That's all I'm saying. So, you know, because I'm a fan of news with James Gunn in charge. Why? You haven't seen what he's planning yet. Let's wait and see. I'll celebrate it when I get some context and something substantial. Right, a Warner Insider cautions that no plans have been finalised and that Flash remains an unlocked picture. So the Flash, right? So the Flash Film News have been telling you for weeks that this movie has been picture locked, but in fact, it remains unlocked. Flash Film News and home of DCU are telling you this just happened 5 minutes after the article. They're lying to you because they're biased liars. And again, I warned you about both those accounts. Now, I follow those accounts to keep an eye on them, on the bullshit they're saying, because I like putting propaganda merchants right and exposing propaganda merchants. Look, it's a wonderful day. Lots of things going on in the DC universe. Nothing I'm hearing from Boris Kitt actually upsets me. I love Gal. I love Jason. I love Henry. Great Superman. But to start again would be absolutely the right decision. But it does look a bit of a mess. It all looks pretty undecided, doesn't it? Which is a bit weird. So it's like they're looking on Twitter every 5 minutes to see what's trending, to make their decisions. So really, it is a bit messy, really. But I warned you all about this. So, you know, I told you about celebrating false prophets. And when I talk about false prophets, yes, I'm talking about James Gunn. Abraham Herrera, the superhero monopoly is, in my opinion, Marvel started it and Marvel killed it. DC was just never able to take off. James needs to make his movies low budget, and the same goes for Marvel. Listen, Abraham, it's not about budgets or low budgets. Listen. The consumer will always love good superhero movies or good movies in general. Whether there's a trend or not doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you're spending on them. Make good films and people will come. People will come. As a very successful movie, Field of Dreams once said, make good movies. It's funny, I've been rewatching Russell T Davies' era of Doctor Who, and that era exposes Hollywood. Russell T Davies' Doctor Who, on under a quarter of the budgets of Hollywood movies, makes brilliant sci-fi 45-minute stories. We have the Pompeii episode where we have this moral question: should the Doctor save one family? In Torchwood, again by Russell T Davies, Torchwood, Children of Earth, one of the best alien invasion stories ever told, below the budgets that Hollywood use. It's about the quality of the writer. And Russell T Davies is better than anything in Hollywood right now. And you're calling James Gunn a messiah. I respect James, but some of you people are going too far with the butt kissing. Rewind the times. It's so frustrating to be a DC fan, lol. Up and down. I did warn you all. Stop shilling. Stop shilling. I did warn you. I've been losing subscribers. I've been losing Twitter followers because I've been speaking truth. Because a lot of you people don't like the truth. I'm only delivering the truth, not hatred, right? Hashling me. Hope this time we rise. The Legend CJ agree. We need a young cast so they can grow out. The Legend CJ, I love that comment. Top comment. Film Goblin, did you hear about WB Warner Brothers Discovery almost restored the Snyderverse before James Gunn and Peter came in as head of DC? Well, I'm reading the article now. I don't believe that. I don't actually believe that, but we'll get into it. Hashling me, where'd you hear it? Right, I'm reading the article right now. Where have you been? Hashling me, I've been literally reading the article while you've been here. Right. Cavill's situation is a more than a little thorny, as the actor made a cameo in Black Adam. The DC-centric movie released in October, the Monday after the movie opened. Cavill posted a video on Instagram where he announced, "I wanted to make it official, I'm back as Superman." Now think about this for a minute. Someone who wasn't actually officially back as Superman, obviously, right, because there was new leadership, Cavill just came out with this. Did he have any studio permission? This is why I, even during the hype, even though I was happy to see him again, I was like, really, Henry? Because James Gunn has never mentioned Henry Cavill. Interesting. Right, I've got a really bad tablet here and I'm trying to go up. Jesus Christ. Right. So we got more on the Henry Cavill situation. Abraham, right, rewind the times. I'm so confused. Gunn said a few months when a fan asked the superhero hype didn't start with Marvel Studios. It started in 2000 with Spider-Man and... Oh, hang on. I'm getting lost here. Right. Gunn said a few months when a fan asked if we would see Robbie's Quinn again. He said, yeah, but now recasting. So they're confusing me. By the way, they haven't said they're recasting Harley Quinn, have they? Yes, rewind at times. But I did tell you while you were shilling, right? I was telling you this. I was telling you that James Gunn was talking too much without giving any context to keep that hype going. And it was a mistake. And surprise, surprise, exactly what I said would happen has happened. And nobody listens. On Henry Cavill coming out to say he's back as Superman. And at the time, he was not incorrect. Warner Brothers was indeed developing a sequel for 2013's Man of Steel and actively meeting with writers Andy Muschietti, who directed The Flash, even expressed interest in sitting behind the camera for something that would have brought a tone similar to the hopeful and heroic colours of the 78 movie directed by Richard Donner, considered a benchmark in comic book movies. In fact, the current leadership team at Warner Brothers Pictures, Michael DeLuca and Pamela Abbey, did desire one more go around of the Snyderverse heroes, possibly even having another Justice League movie with these actors. Right. So let's look at this, right? Film Goblin and Henry said he met and spoke with James Gunn. He didn't say that. He said he wanted to. Film Goblin, I always said WDB, Warner Brothers Discovery, has to make a decision to either restore the Snyderverse or reboot the DCEU, and they made a decision. Let's see if that's true. Film Goblin, I hate soft reboots. Yeah, we don't want soft reboots. It's either a reboot or not. Film Goblin, I wouldn't be happy for a soft reboot. Rewind the times. If they're recasting, it makes these next 4 movies almost pointless. This is what I've been saying. They are effing pointless. They are. That's what I've been telling you, but you people don't listen. That's the problem, isn't it? Wow. Anyway, if they're recasting, it makes these next movies almost pointless to see. I thought Gunn was going to just do better movies that will connect. People are just not going to come out and see these movies, it feels. Rewind the times. Tell me, who came out to see Black Adam apart from DC fans like yourself? Nobody. Nobody, my friend. There's no interest in this. You want a universe with better movies, but that stays DCEU. But the general audience have no faith in this. The only people going to see this stuff are DC fans. And in a financial, for the potential, it's not good enough. They need the general audience. Marvel has everyone coming out to see these movies. Rewind the times. We can't carry on like this. We need to start again. This is the correct decision if, in fact, this is happening. Rewind the times. It's sad, Mick. It hurts, but I love DC. It's sad. You'll love it again if they reboot it and start from scratch and make good movies and create a great universe. You will love it again. But what we've got right now, my friend, is not good enough. And shilling mediocrity hurts DC more than the studio have ever hurt it. Where are we? Right, so let's cover this. So what Boris, hashing me off topic, which teams do you think will win the World Cup? Brazil. Right. So let's keep on this subject because this is what really interests me. I haven't even seen a game of the World Cup. That's how uninterested I am in that. Film Goblin, the fandom had no one else to blame but themselves for not supporting the films. No. DC fans have gone out and supported the films. Again, people need to listen. It's the general audience who are not interested. That's why maybe they're starting from scratch. Abraham Herrera, I'm just not excited for any of it. Thanks to James Cameron, we've got a completely new franchise that has nothing to do with superheroes right now. Marvel and DC have nothing that interests me. Well, that's fair enough. But, right, let's talk about this. So, Boris Kitt is saying here that Andy Muschietti volunteered to direct the next Superman movie. Let's be clear, Andy Muschietti would never have got this movie. He's a Walter Hamada man. Hamada's gone. It was never going to happen. Now, apparently, Boris Kitt says that the new CEOs of Warner Brothers Discovery Pictures, Michael DeLuca and Pam Abby, wanted another go with the Snyderverse characters. Right, and even do another Justice League movie. Let's be absolutely clear here. They weren't going to bring Zack back. They weren't going to restore the Snyderverse because a lot of people are misunderstanding this. They just wanted to use Zack's actors in a new Justice League movie and going forward, but it's clear this is not what James Gunn and Peter Safran want. And if Peter Safran and James Gunn's plan is to do a total recast and start again, I have total respect for them. So there's that. So he also says that all these plans for Superman was before Gunn and Safran began formulating their new and still in flux plan. Rewind the times. Gunn says he's guiding these next 4 movies. So what does that actually mean? I'm confused, brother. Well, there's nothing to be confused about. He's guiding the movies. He's guiding them to release. What do you think he's doing? You know, what did you think was going to happen here, right? Did you really think this current franchise, Rewind the Times, could be successful by magic when no one has faith in them? Right, where are we? Right. Film Goblin, don't like the idea of Andy Muschietti directing a Superman film to be like Donna's. Hashling me. Grace posted a meme about DC fans. It said that we only exist on social media, not in the theatre. Well, do you know what? There's a lot of DC shilling, but it doesn't kind of, when you see the box offices for these DC movies, it doesn't seem to resonate. The popularity on social media doesn't resonate in theatrical numbers. So actually, Grace's meme does make a little bit of a point. I'm not always there with Grace. I'm not a Grace fan, but yeah, there is a point there, isn't there? But actually, her madness is wrong. Her method is right. Her madness is wrong because ultimately people are not coming out to support these movies because they're not good enough, and they haven't been good enough for many, many years. These movies, apart from Aquaman, haven't made real money. The Snyderverse was something special and unique and like nothing we saw before. And since they got rid of it, since they jettisoned that vision, this franchise has been a mess. And of course, James Gunn and Peter Safran understand you can't carry on like this. Also, right, listen to this. This is important to you, Shills. Also unlikely is a sequel to Black Adam, despite the hype surrounding the movie of launching a new corner of DC. A lot of it led by star Dwayne Johnson. Yeah, the hype led by Dwayne Johnson. Fake hype. The movie has only grossed $385 million worldwide, and insiders at the studio say the movie, which cost more than $190 million to produce, two sources peg the actual cost at $230 million, not including marketing, will be lucky to break even considering ancillary revenue. Even if the movie does eke out a minimal profit, any follow-ups, inherent rising costs dim the prospect of a sequel. So there could be spin-offs, but not a sequel. But I don't think so. Anyway, who knows what they're planning? Seems a bit messy to me. Johnson hoped to carve out his own piece of the DC pie, but multiple sources say he's playing up of a returning Cavill, and his own involvement with DC may not be endearing him to the new management. Johnson and Cavill are both managed by Danny Garcia, who is also Johnson's producing partner. The perception of Adam turning a profit or not is a conflagration not being waged in public, with Johnson tweeting the movie would net over 50 million after a variety story said that movie would lose over 50 million. But even a 50 million profit isn't a good profit. It sounds like a lot of money, but it's actually crap. It's crap. This is DC. They want to be making, they want to be making 2 billion. They want Spider-Man No Way Home money. They want Aquaman money. They don't want a 50 million profit. So it's shit. He's an embarrassment for bragging about a 50 million profit in the first place. And he is trying to go to war with the new leadership. But he won't win. He won't win. James Gunn and Peter Safran will get what they want. There's a lot of ads on this article. I can tell you that. Oh my God, it's gone. It's gone. I've lost the bloody article. Oh. Hang on a minute, everyone. Technical hitch. Right. Rewind the times. I'm 42 years old. Honestly, it feels like these get their stuff together until I'm in my 60s. They need to regain the trust of the fan. Years of great films. But it depends what you see as great films. What do you see as a great film? Do you think Black Adam's a great film? Do you think Birds of Prey is a good film? Do you think Wonder Woman 84 is a great film? When was the last time they truly made a great film? This tablet is the worst. Honestly, it's the bloody worst. Keep posting. I'm just, my tablet has left the building. I'm using a very old tablet because I don't have a phone. Right. Yes. So surprise, surprise. Guess what happened? It went back to Twitter. So let's wait. Right. Let's wait for it to load up and we'll see what we've missed. But basically, to cut a long story short, what Boris Kittle, the Hollywood Reporter, is trying to say is that they are thinking, and nothing's set in stone right now, but they are considering rebooting the whole franchise. So very soon, they're going to pitch their plans to David Zaslav. It's going to be interesting how Zaslav sees this. But apparently, but what's really important here is Patty Jenkins' Wonder Woman 3 script has been rejected. This is a script she co-wrote with Jeff Johns, which is interesting. She literally came back. Basically, she was going to do exactly the same shit as she did with Wonder Woman 84. It's clear that whatever she was planning isn't what they want to do. But it doesn't necessarily mean they're doing total reboot and total recast. The truth is, we are no further forward in knowing. But this article is very, very interesting. So let's see if there's any left. Right, I'm back on it. Rewind the times. It just feels like a DC will never be anything. There's so much damage done. Now recasting and rebooting the hole to climb out is so deep. It could take forever, it's sad. But don't you think Rewind the times? Because it is broken. The franchise is broken. It doesn't work in the realms of what they want it to work for. Please smash the like button, everyone. But isn't it better to start from fresh and plan something that's beautiful and something that you can enjoy, rather than continuing something that simply doesn't work? Excuse me a minute while I get rid of these nuisances. Thank you. Like here, he says this: it is unclear how any future Wonder Woman movie and Gadot's portrayal of the hero would fit into the new DC plan. So that's interesting as well, isn't it? I'm just going through this again. Right, let's look at this. This is about Jason Momoa. Abraham Herrera, Violent Night is also another nice surprise. Hollywood is changing. I wouldn't be surprised if John Wick made more money than Marvel DC movies next year. Actually, Hollywood isn't changing that much. There's lots of creative bankruptcy. They barely made any money this year, Abraham. We had an empty summer. We've really got an empty Christmas period as well. So I don't think Hollywood's changing. I think we need a bigger cultural reset than Top Gun 2 and, Silent Night and Avatar. There needs to be variety in Hollywood. We need to see The Untouchables. We need to see Field of Dreams. We need to see Revenge. We need to see the kind of films we had when we were growing up. Not a repeat. We obviously need films that suit the generation today and the world that we live in today. But there needs to be a variety. They've been banking on superhero movies, and now that trend seems to be going. But they're all listen, Abraham. There will always be superhero movies. And as I said before, and I don't want to repeat myself, and I don't think you should repeat yourself either, but honestly, I think a good movie is a good movie. If you make a good movie, people will enjoy it. If you make a formulaic movie, a boring movie, one that's just meant to go through the motions until the next one, people are getting a bit fed up of that. So listen, it's not either or. That's the problem with this social media generation. It's either this or either that. It's not. You can have great superhero movies. You can have Avatar. You can have John Wick. We can have it all. Just make great damn movies. It isn't rocket science. Right, rewind the times. I agree with Mick. What if Gunn and Peter's ideas bomb? Then what if it just feels like DC brand name is damaged? It hurts me, brother. Well, saying what if Gunn and Saffron's plans bomb, it's like saying, what if I cross the road and I get run over and I get killed? There's no point, is there? We've got to wait and see. You've got to eat the food before you can tell if it's a good food or a bad food. Abraham Herrera, you are underestimating Avatar, Mick. No, Abraham, you're putting words in my mouth again. No, what I said to you is we can have it all. You're having a discussion about either this or either that. And I've told you, you can have great superhero movies, great Avatar movies. All people want is great movies and a bit of a variety, because we're driving some people out of cinemas as well. So I'm very excited about Avatar, very excited. But I'm not an either or propaganda merchant. That's the difference. Hashing me, at least for me, DC is being something like they always work with standalone movies despite the interconnected ones kind of mess. Well, listen, you can actually do good, interactive, interconnected movies. It's just working hard to create quality. Right, let me read this. Momoa, meanwhile, could emerge as a pivotal figure into the new plans. According to several sources, in one scenario, the actor would wrap up his days as underwater hero Arthur Curry with Lost City. You mean Lost Kingdom? He doesn't even know the name of the bloody film. Due out December the 25th, 2023, which would be the final movie release that was made by the previous regime. But it would not spell the end of the actor's involvement with DC, with sources saying the actor would lead another movie or franchise. The character of Lobo, a foul-mouthed cigar-chomping intergalactic bounty hunter, has been mentioned in connection with Momoa. Yeah, basically because Gunn and Momoa were teasing about this, but we will see. So it's only like that isn't breaking news. We kind of suspected this with Momoa, that he wouldn't. I've done a video about this, that he wouldn't be playing Aquaman anymore, maybe, and playing Lobo or someone like that. Kind of makes sense. So obviously he likes Jason Momoa. Basically, Peter Safran likes Jason Momoa because they've worked together. Makes sense. Again, I would support a decision like that. Where are we? Rewind the times. Just can't wait to hear from Gunn. There's so much rumours. I just want to hear the plans from his mouth. Well, as I say, past few days I've made my position clear. If he's just rebranding the DCEU, I have no interest at all. It doesn't hype me up. But if it's true that we're starting from scratch, but again, how can we with Peacemaker 2, maybe Peacemaker 2 will be the final act, but I don't know. Listen, I have no fucking idea what they're planning here. So it's interesting. It is interesting, but we're not necessarily going to get a reboot. We don't know. Even in this article, they're saying their plans are in flux. It's ridiculous, everyone. If this article is to be believed, we're in a bigger mess than we ever were. And actually, it's looking like the Snyderverse was brilliant and it had a plan. This is a mess. They don't know what to fucking do. That's what in flux actually means. Wherever or not Momoa does play everybody's favourite batshit Lobo, emerging as a rising character early on in the conversation may point to the kind of characters the Gunn Safran team may be focusing on. The character is an outsider, an anti-hero, and is keeping in line with Gunn's speciality of taking off beat and quirky and flipping into crowd-pleasing fare. Part of the plan could entail a truly fresh start and having no baggage from any previous regime as they set about resetting how DC movies and shows are made. That, however, does not take into account the possible success of movies such as Shazam! Fury of the Gods 2017-2023, in which Safran is a producer, and Blue Beetle August 18, 2023. Would that plan include forging ahead without the actors who inhabit those characters and recast them, even in those movies prove to be box office hits? Question mark. He's not giving you news there. He's asking you, is it possible to recast characters? Observers are convinced the plan calls for an interconnected story universe, and there is rumblings of the establishment of a creative brain trust. A brain trust may be already rolling in some capacity, as sources say that Safran had in recent weeks been meeting with writers at his Los Angeles home in an effort to hone the presentation, gathering feedback and ideas for the plan. Wow. Abraham Herrera, they have messed up real bad, Mick. Why would they let people know they will start from scratch when next year will be full of DC movies that will lead nowhere? Well, I don't think they want you to know. I said this from the beginning. I told you this is why there's been no context. But then James Gunn should have kept his mouth shut and stopped teasing stuff before next year's movies came out. He should have just been teasing next year's movies and then waited for those movies to happen before teasing his shit. But these people, as I keep on telling you, don't think people in this industry actually have brains. They have no brains whatsoever. They're not as clever as they actually believe to be. So, amazingly, the wrong people are working in this industry. Imagine Russell T Davies, who's coming back as Doctor Who showrunner, running DC, someone who actually understands stories. But these people are not the messiahs that you think they are. That's the point. But you're right, Abraham. You're spot on there. It's dumb. Because you know what? They should have got... You know what they should have got... You know what? You know what they did with Batgirl? With the tax write-off? They should have done this with every one of next year's DCEU movies and just left the gap next year and then started with the Gunn and Safran plan and gave us a break until we saw that plan in movie theatres, TVs and animation and gaming, right? They should have got a tax write-off on every one of these DC movies. Something else I'll be talking about in my video later on when I do a proper pre-recorded one. But yeah, it just goes to show you, doesn't it, that these people haven't got any brains. You shelve Batgirl. If you shelve Batgirl and got the tax write-off money, why not do the same with the other movies? What, you think you're going to make real money from them? I don't think so. Rewind the time, Mick. Let's say they do start over. Where now do they restart the DC? Which films lead off the new direction? Well, if it is a reboot, next year's films are from the old leadership. As you well know, Rewind the Times, those films will be done at the end of next year. And then the next time we see any DC content, that will be the new beginning. It's self-explanatory, really. Abraham Herrera, people are not going to watch the next 4 DC movies because they will restart until 2024. Well, that's a great point. But again, Mickey Boy, the host with the most, did warn you about this, did tell you, did warn you, pre-warn you that Gunn was talking too much, that Cavill was talking too much. People don't want to listen. Maybe you'll start listening to me in the future, but I doubt it. Rewind the times. Yeah, Mick, it makes no sense that they're allowing 4 more movies to come out unless they are part of the new plan. They've got to be, unless they're complete dumb lol. Well, I would probably think they're... Listen, they're not completely dumb. They want to make money out of next year's movies. They've already spent money. They're looking for $3 to $4 billion dollars to raise, right? So they want to make, they probably don't feel... let me say that again, because my face was going all funny because I was getting a message there. But let's start again. Yeah. So they're not dumb. They just want to make money out of these movies. That's the point. Yeah, something's going wrong with me, isn't it? I'm not looking right. Anyway, let's continue, because this is a great live chat. Thank you for coming in, everyone. I thought it was important to go live because this is huge. Right. One part that the gun saffron agenda seems likely not to touch, at least for now, is the Matt Reeves Batman universe, in which Robert Pattinson dons the cowl of the Caped Crusader. Reeves is writing the sequel to the Batman, which opened in March before. The filmmaker is also overseeing a launch of 2 Batman series that spin out of this movie, including the Penguin. I still have an issue with this, by the way. I think 2 separate DC universes, actually 3 with Joker, is the dumbest thing ever, and it's going to cause confusion. You need one franchise, but they're not going to do this. But they will continue with what Matt Reeves is doing, because Matt Reeves made a lot of money for the studio with the Batman, and it's all about money. So that's why, yes, that universe will continue. Is that it, or do we have more? I think that's it. I think that's the end. Yeah, that's it. So, basically, what we're having here is pretty obvious. So, everything that I predicted and said they shouldn't have been doing with Gunn, keep on posting and tweeting BS, and Henry Cavill coming out saying he's back as Superman. I said these people were talking far too much, and this would come back to haunt them. Because what's actually going on here, according to this very article, is that they don't know what they're going to do. They're coming up with different plans, but they don't. That's the funny thing right now. They actually don't know what they're doing. They haven't made a decision whether or not they'll reboot or continue with this. They haven't decided. Because shall I tell you, and I warned you about this ages ago, you know what they're going to do? They're going to wait for next year's 4 movies to come out before they make a decision. If next year's movies make shit money, then they'll reboot. They've already seen Black Adam. Black Adam's made them nervous. They're more closer to a reboot now. But they're going to wait for each one of next year's movies before they do any solid plans, because they want to see if there's any point in keeping certain actors and certain characters. That's the point. So this is a mess. This is a mess of astronomical proportions, and while you lot were shilling the false prophet that is James Gunn, I warned you this would happen. This is as big of a mess that DC's ever been in, because they're just coming up with different scenarios. They haven't even decided in what to do. It's absolutely ridiculous. Meanwhile, James Gunn on the other side is going, right, we're doing this, we're doing a DC universe, one story, movies, TV, animation, and gaming. He sounds like he knows exactly what he wants to do. Or that's his plan, but guess what? He's doing another Henry Cavill. He's publicly stating his plan, which he's making it sound like it's definitely going to happen. But Zaslav hasn't even greenlit that plan, because he hasn't pitched that plan to Zaslav. So James Gunn, in his infinite wisdom, has gone onto Twitter telling us his plan, but he hasn't even pitched his plan to the CEO of the studio yet. How ridiculous is that? And this is how messy this situation is. It's fucking hilarious. Abraham Herrera, they think he's going to keep Amanda Waller and the Suicide Squad, but that is stupid. Why would Zaslav let them do that? As I say, it's very messy. So are we rebooting the DCEU, or are we just rebooting the DCEU in certain places? As I say to you, they don't know what they're doing. This is a mess. I've just explained to you. He's talking about things he hasn't even pitched yet. It's a ridiculous situation. Rewind the times. If you read into The Rock's comments, he's saying they're going to make sequels to Black Adam and Hawkman spin-offs, and he only mentioned $7 Productions. Is his company doing the film separate? Right. Rewind the times. You should actually know this. Warner Brothers owns DC Comics. No one can do anything with DC Comics without Warner Brothers interaction or express permission. So nothing's going to happen unless Warner Brothers Discovery want it to. They own DC Comics. You people need to understand that The Rock isn't the big cheese. He can't do whatever the fuck he wants with DC. He's fighting. And I think the only spin-offs you're going to see, if you get any, are for Hawkman and Dr. Fate. Black Adam's not going to get any spin-offs because they did their research. And I'll tell you what their research told them, that basically everyone else in Black Adam was very popular. Guess who was the least popular thing in Black Adam? Black Adam. Because really we needed an actual actor to play that role rather than some meathead who's famous. And I'll tell you something else. We should never have had a Black Adam film in the first place. Rewind the times. The Rock talks like he knows what's going on. Any chance he does, man, oh, this sounds so messy. No, he's a used car salesman. That's all he is. The only reason Henry Cavill's Superman was in Black Adam was to uplift that movie. As I said, it's a mess. No one's in control of anything. James Gunn or Peter Safran are not in control of anything. If this article is to be believed, they're not in control. David Zaslav isn't in control. Who's in control? I don't know. Maybe the milkman. Maybe the guy who makes the smoothies in the mess hall. I don't know. These people are a joke. Let's see if Gunn comes out, because this is an interesting article. But I will tell you something about this article. I think it's a flimsy article. I think it's another flimsy article, but it's interesting. What you'll find with this article is there's probably like 25% of truths in it, and the rest is just guesswork. And a lot of the stuff he says here, there's question marks. He's asking the question. But one thing I do believe is that Patty Jenkins' Wonder Woman 3 script has been rejected. But has she been fired? That's interesting. Now, this is something that I predicted a long time ago. I said they can't go with this. Basically, I said to you, this would prove if James Gunn and Peter Safran and David Zaslav, DeLuca and Abbey were the real deal. I said this yesterday. If they allow her to make the next Wonder Woman movie, they're not the real deal. I can't follow them on this journey. But they've done something that's won my respect. Rejecting this script means they are not just going to go along for the DCEU ride. They literally do want to create something new, and they literally do want to make money. And rejecting Patty Jenkins' script proves to me, in fact, James Gunn isn't a false prophet, and this is one decision that is the right decision. And if they are going to reboot from the beginning, that is the right decision, but I'm not convinced about that. But it's very messy. So I will say the Wonder Woman 3 thing, the top of the headline, is true. They've rejected Wonder Woman 3. They've rejected Jeff Johns and Patty Jenkins' script. They were the two who wrote the awful Wonder Woman 84. James Gunn knows it's an awful film, and he's not going to green light another awful film. So that is the right decision, my friends. And I'm very, very happy about that decision. So that proves to me that somewhat they do know what they're doing and they're making good decisions. We'll see what that means going forward. And I think from that headline, Boris Kitt has gone from one extreme to the other without really knowing anything. But I definitely think the Wonder Woman 3 news, at least, is true. And I think DC fans are going on meltdown saying, oh my God, reboot. Let me be clear right now. I'm not going to say reboot. I'm going to say we don't know. Let's wait and see. A reboot is what I want, but I don't think I'm going to get, because as I said yesterday, life isn't that kind. So all we know for sure, the only thing we know in that article to be true, or I'm telling you is true, Wonder Woman 3, that script has been rejected from Patty Jenkins and Jeff Johns. Whether they'll be told to write another one, which wouldn't make me happy because it means she's still involved, or they've got their new plans for Wonder Woman, I don't know. But I did tell you when she was bragging about that script that I told you Zaslav hasn't read it yet. I was right. After the Deadline.com article about Black Adam spin-offs, I said, bet you they haven't been green lit yet. He's talking about development. He's not talking about a green light. There's a huge difference. You need to listen to the wording with entertainment news. Don't swallow everything you hear and then go, oh my God, this is happening now. So don't go around talking about a DC Universe reboot. We don't know yet. We don't know what they're doing. I hope it is a reboot. But the top of that article saying that Patty Jenkins' Wonder Woman 3 script has been rejected is fabulous news. I will say that. Rewind the Times. Michael Keaton, let's get nuts low. Abraham Herrera, The Rock is going to look so ridiculous if everything gets cancelled. Yeah, he will look ridiculous because he's just a car salesman. Abraham Herrera, I bet they wish they had went with Zack's idea for Wonder Woman cutting heads off. I don't think they would go that extreme. Rewind the Times. Gal Gadot wrote on Twitter she can't wait to show us the next chapter. It won't be in Patty's script. Yeah, again, because she did. Look, that's what I keep on telling you. The left arm doesn't know what the right arm is doing. That's the point. Let me switch off my little heater because I'm getting a bit hot. Right. But so, yeah, the left arm, right? The left arm doesn't know what the right arm's doing. Basically, no one talks to... It's the same... Listen, if any of this article is true, right, it proves that we are in the same old mess, that nothing has actually changed. And I'll repeat myself, and I'm going to say all of this shit in a condensed manner in the pre-recorded video later, because I have to, because I've got OCD and I can't just do a live video. I have to do an editorial as well because I love it. Even if I get 26 views, I don't care. But basically, you've got James Gunn talking about something he hasn't even pitched yet. It's ridiculous. I told you, this guy is talking too much. He's getting ahead of himself. Imagine if Zaslav rejects his pitch next week. Think about that for a minute. Short Circuit, I hope they don't recast the Justice League members and JSA members. JSA cast also look good. Also, I am not getting any positive video vibe on Black Adam 2. They should have made a JSA movie. Abraham Herrera and Ant Farm is more organised than Warner Discovery. Yeah, look, we thought maybe Zaslav would be better and understand what needs to happen. But it's clear it's the same old situation again and again. What we can garner from this article is they're undecided. As Boris Kitt said, everything is in flux. It's a fucking mess, everyone. And now, what this article does do, it does expose James Gunn, actually, and everything he's been saying. And now he's been tweeted. Now he's going to wait. And he's going to make this big thing to sound like the big I am and this, that, and the other. And well, he'll say some bullshit. He's not going to give you any facts. He's not going to give you any answers. He probably won't tell you the article's total bullshit because I don't think the article is total bullshit. But will he respond? Well, he has a boss and he can't listen. He wants you to think he's the big I am, but he's not. He has a boss. He actually has multiple bosses. He has Mike DeLuca, Pam Adby, David Zaslav are above him. So, and probably, actually, Peter Safran is actually a higher level than him because he's a producer. He's more of a suit. So James Gunn is the creative head. James Gunn isn't in charge of anything, right? He has to get things green lit. And he's made a mistake. He's been hyping shit up when you've got 4 movies out next year. Shit, he hasn't even pitched yet. That's the cardinal sin. I would never, ever talk about stuff I had never pitched yet. I've pitched loads of stuff that's been rejected. But obviously, as I wouldn't be sitting here right now talking to you guys. But I wouldn't talk about something before I pitched it. That's ridiculous. I mean, probably my OCD as well. But it's not normally the dumb thing, is it? How many Hollywood people? Any Doctor Who fans here? Do you imagine Russell T Davies, right, telling you his plan for Doctor Who? before he pitched it or it was shot. Nobody knows what the plans are for new Doctor Who. Russell T Davies wouldn't do that because he doesn't need to hype his stuff up. Do you know why? Because he's confident in his ability and talent to make Doctor Who great again. So he doesn't need to do that. And that's the difference. These people in Hollywood, these modern creatives, are not the real deal. And it's a mess. Undecided, everything's in flux, don't know what they're doing, don't know if they're keeping the old DCEU actors or doing something new. And as I say, they're just going to wait till next year's movies to make a final decision. And imagine a Flash movie that's coming out in June is unlocked, according to Boris Kitt and his sources. Who knows how true that is? And it is quite entertaining being on DC Twitter right now because I was right. I've been seeing a lot of DC Twitter accounts shilling the shit out of James Gunn before he did anything. And guess what? Everything I said was bang on. Talking too much before there'd even been a plan. Imagine, I said it already, but imagine if his plan gets rejected. Imagine that. What happens if his plan's rejected? I think his plans could still get rejected. I mean, it's unlikely, isn't it? But could it happen? Think about it this way. If David Zaslav is a kind of man who at 1 minute wanted to make a Man of Steel 2, right? And the next minute doesn't. That doesn't really put James Gunn in a great position. But here's the thing. Basically, it's James Gunn and Peter Safran who don't want to go forward with Henry Cavill's Superman. And maybe the rest of the actors. Interesting. They're the ones who don't want to go forward with it. Will they want to go forward with Superman or will they rest Superman? Because James Gunn isn't much of a Superman fan. Let me tell you that as well. It's a ridiculous situation. I am not surprised. You lot are surprised. The whole of DC Twitter is surprised. I'm not surprised because, as you know, I understand this industry. I spent 6 months in Tinseltown. I spent time with a lot of important people. A lot of people who weren't important at the time, but are quite important now. I know where the bodies are buried. I know how these people think. And this is not the industry of the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, 80s, 90s, even the early noughties. The people there now are not ultra talented. Wouldn't be there 30 years ago. These people would not be there. They wouldn't have the ability because there was people of higher ability back then. They're only there because there's a lack of talent. People like Simu Liu, who get upset by Quentin Tarantino saying there's no movie stars anymore. You're not a movie star, Simu. You're not. You're not a movie star. If you were in a movie now, a pointless movie, you couldn't uplift it. But Tom Cruise can still uplift any movie he's in. All right, not The Mummy, but most movies, right? Tom Cruise is still a movie star. Brad Pitt is still a movie star. Even feminist Margot Robbie was saying she was desperate to kiss him in her latest movie, Babylon. So that tells you everything. I do like Abraham Herrera's analogy of an ant farm, though. That's pretty funny and pretty true. Where are we? Mick, exactly. Where in the same mess, just Gunn and Peter are now hosting the party instead of Hamada Lowell. Yeah, it is funny. And do you know what? This actually makes Zack Snyder look great. Because Zack Snyder actually did have a plan that was bringing in money. Not the money they wanted, but it was bringing in an amount of solid returns. And he had a plan and he understood the comics. And when we see Rebel Moon, these people are going to be exposed even more. Zack Snyder was a visionary and they got rid of him. And it was a mistake. I will say that now. They made a mistake getting rid of Zack Snyder. I'm not a here for Zack person. I love him, but I'm not a here for Zack person, right? I'm not. But I admire what he did. I respect him as a visionary director and a writer. And getting rid of a visionary like Snyder, who's really made the only great DC films in recent memory. I mean, before that, Nolan made 3 great Batman films, don't get me wrong. Aquaman's a really entertaining movie. I like that. Wonder Woman's a great movie as well. Snyder had a lot to do with Wonder Woman. James Wan was consulting all the time with Zack on the first Aquaman. Let me be clear about that. Abraham Herrera, I have a feeling Zaslav hiring Gunn was so that he can throw him under the bus later on. Well, listen, this is how it works. It's how governments work as well. They always put in Torchwood, Children of Earth, they get a civil servant to do all the talking when there's the alien invasion, because the Prime Minister doesn't want to negotiate with the aliens because he doesn't want to get blamed by the public. So there's always this situation. I know when I talk about Doctor Who and Torchwood, you probably don't know what I'm talking about, but I'm on a right Doctor Who vibe right now. So sorry about that. But anyway, so what we were saying. Yeah, so listen, I think that it will be funny if James Gunn's pitch is rejected. Not that I want that to happen, not because I hate James, because I don't. The point is, I think you don't start talking about your vision for something before you pitch it. And James Gunn's been talking about what the plan is. It's like he's been trying to put pressure on David Zaslav to get hype from the audience so he can green light his pitch. This is exactly what The Rock has been attempting to do. And this is what Henry Cavill was attempting to do. Really, Henry had no right to say he was back as Superman because no one. Zaslav never told him that. So it was a bit of a weird thing to do. You're back as Superman in that bit, and it looks great, don't get me wrong, but there wasn't a plan from Gunn and Safran to bring you back. But are Gunn and Safran even actually the co-chairs of DC Studios? What happens if their pitch is rejected? It's very messy, isn't it? It's very messy. I don't get it. Listen, I've been pre-warning you about stuff, and, you know, when people were whispering in my ear everything that Boris Kit said, I said, no way. I was saying, I'm not going to, this is why I wasn't being blatant about the stuff that I knew, because I thought, no way can this shit be true. No way can we be going back to the same old mess that they don't know if they're doing A, they don't know if they're doing B, they don't know if they're doing C, they don't know if they're doing D. You know, and this is the information. The information you've heard, right? This information, I've known about it for a while. And this is what I've been trying to, you should listen to me sometimes. When I'm saying things, I'm very cryptic. But if you listen to me, it's because I've heard something. But I'm not going to tell you I've heard something because I don't want egg on my face. If it's bullshit, I don't want to say, oh, I've heard this, I've heard that, I've heard the other. Now I can tell you that I knew all this stuff. Now, I don't know if all of this is true. I still don't know if all of this is true because sources can never clarify for you what's true or not. They can say, I've heard this, I've heard that. You don't necessarily trust your sources. That's why I didn't exclusively do a video about it. But Boris Kit, a very respectable guy, has come out. So I think the most important thing that Boris says in this article, that everything's in flux and everything is undecided. So they may do a reboot, they may not do a reboot. This is what's going on, really. They may keep the old actors or some of the old actors and bin some of the others. Bin people like Patty Jenkins, but keep other directors. Listen, that's the point. They don't know. They're undecided. So Gunn and Safran are going to pitch, and then Zaslav has to decide if he wants to go for this pitch. And money, I suppose, is a thing with them being in so much debt. In a way, I'm finding it rather amusing that Hollywood is failing and is in debt and, you know, failing hand over fist because of their arrogance, because of the way their aggressive, progressive political stances as well. It's all falling apart for them, and their propaganda doesn't work anymore. James Gunn has been telling you a plan that hasn't been ratified and green-lit yet. Imagine that. Imagine that. He's been giving you he's been misleading you in a way. He has. He's been misleading you. And he hasn't even had it green-lit yet. Rewind the times, I thought Gunn and Peter were just going to reboot the movies going forward, not the cast. I hope this is what is happening. Keep the cast of these superhero villains. Rewind the times. James Gunn loves obscure types of characters. Guardians of the Galaxy was perfect for him. I feel he cares more about Batman than Batman, my opinion. If that's the case, and I'm not saying you're wrong, that would be bad. If you don't care about Batman and Superman, and if you don't want to make Batman and Superman films, but you'd rather make Batman films, where's the money in that? That could be a problem. And And could it be? And this is the thing. Cavill isn't out. Gal Gadot isn't out necessarily. They're undecided. So they've shot something for Henry Cavill in The Flash, but they're not sure if they're going to use Henry Cavill. They're not sure. That's the problem, everyone. Now, I don't mind them being undecided and having several scenarios of plans going forward. What I think is ridiculous is the amount James Gunn is teasing you about something that hasn't been decided yet. Exactly what I said to you weeks ago. Abraham Herrera, maybe they rejected Patty's script and they called Zach to ask for that treatment he had originally for Wonder Woman, lol. At this point, who knows? At this point, who knows? We know they're undecided, and that's okay to be undecided when you're in the development stage. But to be publicly talking about a pitch before you pitched it and before it's greenlit, it's sacrilege to me as a creative myself. You know, I just think it's weird. It's like you're putting pressure to try and get your stuff greenlit. I think this is what's going on here. Jonathan Garcia, didn't they already Jonathan Garcia, didn't they already reveal their final plans? No, not yet. Well, listen, according to the Hollywood Reporter, who knows anymore? Jonathan Garcia, 5 pillars of characters such as Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Harley Quinn, Batman, and Superman. Yeah, this is what he said, wasn't it? He said these characters are important. Abraham Herrera, I love James Gunn directing the Christmas special was cool, but he can't bring that same vibe to the entirety of DC characters. Well, this is the thing, because this is what he'll be doing. Look, James Gunn is good at doing a certain thing. He wrote Scooby-Doo. You know, that tells you a lot. The Guardians films are fun and they work. Suicide Squad worked. It was okay. Peacemaker was one of the best things I ever saw because it did have his silly humor, but it had a deeper story that I really liked. And I thought he executed it really well. But this is what you're going to get. So, for example, his Vigilante is nothing like the comic book Vigilante. If that's the kind of thing you want, where James gives a new kind of interpretation of these characters, but not the ones that you love, maybe that's the clue to what we could get in the future. And I loved his Vigilante. So I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. Rewind the times. I hate false hope. And Gunn, I feel, is bringing that to us DC fans. I hope I'm wrong, but don't show me Lobo, Mr. Terrific, when nothing is green lit yet. What did I say to you weeks ago, though? I told you this was wrong, that he was doing this. This is what I was saying to you. He was trying to win fans like you over to pressure the CEO of Warner Brothers Discovery into green lighting his stuff. These are the tactics. And I told you the video before last, these people are not your friends. They're not your brothers. They're not your mates. They're people who want to be successful and are using you to become successful. That's it. They are not your mates. They're not the people they say they are. This is the game of the industry. This is how social media works today. They come on social media. Why do you think Michael Rosenbaum and Tom Welling are doing Talkville? I love Talkville. It celebrates Smallville. But why do you think they're doing it? To make fucking money. They have 2 or 3 ads, sponsorships on there. They're only there to make money. And you realize all these people who go to conventions, like the Smallville actors, they get paid. All these Doctor Who people who go to conventions, they get paid. Now, I'm not saying they should do it for free, you know, and a lot of the times you fans have to pay to get photos taken with these people. I tell you what, I won't be paying you for a photo. You have to be paying fucking me to stand there. Because if you don't want to sign if you don't want to sign something, if you don't want to take a photo with me for free, then I'm not going to pay you. Why would I pay you? I don't even pay for a prostitute, let alone pay an actor to take a picture of me. Ridiculous how sucked in some of you fans get. Abraham Herrera, I love I rewind the times. I hate false hope. I know I've read all of these. Oh my God, I thought they were new. I was imagining things. So I'm going to go shortly. I can read a few comments, but I think we've really had one of the best live. I haven't been doing lives recently because they got boring. I got bored of them because no one was coming on. So no point. So I stuck with the pre-recorded videos. But I will do lives now and again. When a big story like this comes out, I will do lives because really I shouldn't be doing lives because I don't have the audience to do lives and it's pointless and I'm wasting my time. One of the advantages of doing lives is you don't have to upload, but the quality of the video isn't the same. Rewind the times. If that's how Gunn is, then I'll just enjoy the next 4 DCEU movies and walk away enjoying the 15 movies that DCEU has. Gunn's getting me nervous. Well, don't get nervous. I mean, listen. We don't have any power over this situation. I mean, they're so arrogant, they don't listen to their audiences anyway. Abraham Herrera, that's why I'm more interested in other things now. I'm investing my money and time on filmmakers that have an actual vision and desire to reinvent cinema. Well, I'm still looking for those people to reinvent cinema. I think that Zack Snyder could have reinvented cinema with his movies. And by the way, Rebel Moon could reinvent the movie genre. And I think Rebel Moon is going to expose WB. It's going to expose Lucasfilm with Star Wars as well. I think it's going to be very funny seeing people react to Rebel Moon, because I think that's a bigger film in terms of a cultural shift than the Avatar sequel is, by the way. But it's James Cameron, and Zack Snyder doesn't get that respect. But I think after people see this film, there will be respect. If you notice, my voice goes kind of funny sometimes. Not my voice, but my it goes like that. It's when I get a message on here. But yeah, I can understand your stance, Abraham. Right now, I'm rewatching Doctor Who and loving it more than Hollywood movies. And as I say, on a less than a quarter of the budget of Hollywood's things, and like someone like Russell T Davies gave us great Doctor Who and great Torchwood, and Doctor Who's better than Hollywood stuff, actually, by the way, because it's all about the talent behind it. And Hollywood hasn't got real core talent. And this is why I call James Gunn a false messiah, because he's good at what he does, but these fanboys go over the top. Oh, James Gunn's amazing. He's the best, man. He's going to make DC the best. How do you know? How do you know? At least wait to taste something before you say it's going to be great. Rewind the times. Man, if Rebel Moon does so good, WB is going to look so stupid. Yep. Well, they look stupid already, but they're going to look even more stupid. Yep. Rewind the time. Say what you want about Zach, but you're right, Mick. He had a vision, a path. His vision was great. His vision was actually great. Unique. Yeah, I could criticize bits and pieces of it, but it was great and I liked it. Abraham Herrera, yeah, Rebel Moon is going to leave some people at both DC and Marvel wishing they'd never underestimated Zach. Well, I don't think Marvel underestimated him because they weren't working with him. They had a plan. They had their fake plan. There was no need to work with Zach. But when you look at someone like Chloe Zhou, who did quite a good job with Eternals, by the way, and I know people call it woke this and that, but she was talking about Man of Steel being her inspiration for the way she made Eternals. So directors have been watching Zach. And yeah, you could say, well, Eternals didn't make a lot of money, but it's still a beautiful looking movie and very artistic and not as bad of a movie as some people will have you believe. But there you go, because people want this condensed, pre-packed franchise. That's a shame. Abraham Herrera, did you know that WB gave Zach money to make 300, but they were expecting it to bomb? Well, what happened back then was, because I think that's when Alan Horn was running things. Actually, it was when Alan Horn was running things. And back then, this is why I keep on telling people, and they think I'm mad because things have changed. Back then, it wasn't all about money. They had their blockbuster set piece movies that they knew would make money back then. But then they take risks on other projects because it was about cinema. It was about art. So you had your movies, you needed to make money so you could survive as a studio, but then you could take risks on films like 300. But ultimately, they took a gamble. They used to take gambles on directors like Zach, and it paid off. This is what happened with George Lucas's Star Wars: A New Hope. They took a gamble, and it paid off. And, the Salkinds took a gamble on Dick Donner's Superman the movie, and it paid off. But there's no risk-taking anymore. And because there's no risk-taking, there's no rewards anymore. So you can't be a random filmmaker from indie school like George Lucas was. That's what he was. Because no one's going to take a pump on you. You have to be a name. You have to be a James Gunn. But James Gunn has made money in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but when he's gone outside of it, he actually hasn't done that well. Don't forget about that. Abraham, so rewind the times. At the end of the day, I just hope after all this, when 2024 comes around, I hope the DC brand isn't damaged. And I hope we can finally get this DC brand on the right track. Well, I think that the brand was damaged. I think the brand's been damaged since Justice League, my friend. I think it has been damaged since then. And I don't think it's been fixed. I really don't. I don't think the brand's been fixed at all. And I think it is damaged. And I think it may be. But you see, articles like this don't help the situation. It embarrasses the brand even more. Because this article basically says that they don't know what they're doing. They haven't decided. They're indecisive. Now, I don't think it's James Gunn who's indecisive. I think it's David Zaslav who doesn't really know what way to go. So you've got a Henry Cavill sequence for the Flash movie, but they're undecided whether that should be in or not because they're not sure if they should go with Cavill. I think Black Adam made them nervous. That box office didn't really do much when Cavill's Superman was announced. It didn't help the movie. I think that's why Henry Cavill was in that post-credit scene as a test to see if it's worth bringing him back. And he failed that test, unfortunately. Rewind the time. Mick, that scares me, bud. If you don't understand that the DC brand's been damaged since Justice League, you really have been hiding under a rock or you're deluding yourself. Abraham Herrera, yeah, they really damaged the brand with Justice League and it hasn't recovered. Because Justice League isn't, like, let's be clear. There's never been a movie like Justice League. Justice League was so bad, everyone. Steppenwolf was wearing a fucking helmet. And you don't notice how bad that is. And we should have done. That's worse than the Cavill upper lip stuff, by the way. Until you see Zack's VFX on Steppenwolf. When you see the Steppenwolf, it's a bad fucking joke. Do you remember like those old, like those kind of sketch shows that used to make fun of things? That's what that Steppenwolf is. It's disgusting. It's like Whedon was making fun of what Zack was trying to do. This is how terrible these people are. Ridiculous. Justice League is beyond. It's an embarrassment. And it will never be forgotten. You don't release a film. You're Warner Brothers. You're Warner Brothers. You produce some of the greatest movies of all time. You literally launched a V Alien Invasion series that kept the Americans stuck to their screens in the 70s and 80s. Wow. You literally had the first superhero movie, was one of the greatest ever made. You had Lethal Weapon. You know, Warner Brothers have had so many great things. And to release a film like Justice League just shits on that great heritage. It shits on the Warner Brothers who founded this great company. And it's a shame. We have got the wrong people running entertainment today. As I keep on calling them, false prophets. Rewind the times. I feel like the audience is never going to trust the DC brand again. I don't think the general audience are going to trust DC in a hurry. Abraham Herrera, in other words, something is definitely bleeding. yeah, exactly. I mean, that's something else, isn't it? That was supposed to be funny. It's just, look, this is embarrassing. It's clear look, James Gunn and Peter Safran clearly want to take the franchise somewhere new. But the thing is, it's all undecided. So that's interesting to me. That it's undecided. Who's undecided? James Gunn, Peter Safran, or David Zaslav? Nobody knows. But this article doesn't paint a good picture. It paints, maybe we'll do this, maybe we do that, but really we don't know yet. Here's the truth. And James Gunn is using you and me, the fans, to pitch something publicly. That's what he's doing. That's why he's posting all the comic book covers. Because he's trying to get you to support him. So when he goes and pitches that, he can say to Zaslav, look, the fans love me. Look at all these tweets where they're tweeting me and atting me. He's doing it on purpose. That's why he's reactive to fans. He's a very crafty and clever guy. He's not your friend. He's just using you. I'm not saying he's a bad person. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying he's using you as a tactic to sell his pitch. Be very, very careful here, because I don't think that James Gunn has many plans for Superman and Batman and Wonder Woman. If you like those characters, I can't see how he's the right person to run these characters, by the way. I don't think he has the ability to run these characters successfully. I think when it comes to Guardians, Suicide Squad, Peacemaker, great, give him his own little corner and he's great, but putting him in charge of an entire studio, I don't know. Is anyone seeing a red flag here? Or is it just me? I can see the red flags. I can see things. I can see things before they happen. Abraham Herrera, did you see the little tease Zach posted from Rebel Moon? It's this one shot, but it's beautiful. Yeah, I saw it. It's brilliant. I'm so excited about Rebel Moon. And you know what? For once, it's going to be on a streaming service I can get in Cyprus legally, Netflix. Netflix is the best. It's the only one I have access to. And I'm so glad Zach's working with them, because I get to see these beautiful movies on this 50-inch Dolby digital sound. It's got everything. This TV is the bollocks. I've got a sound bar there, so I can't wait to watch Rebel Moon. We will be talking a lot of Rebel Moon on this channel. Don't worry about that. Rebel Moon will be discussed, because I think it could be an amazing thing. And yes, it's very Star Wars-y. It was an original pitch for Star Wars, and people will call it a Star Wars ripoff. Of course they will. But it could be what modern-day Star Wars should be. You never know. Maybe that's something Bob Iger could be thinking about after Rebel Moon. What do you think? Would Bob Iger be convinced to use Zack Snyder if Rebel Moon becomes the hit that I think it's going to be? Maybe Bob Iger could use Zack Snyder, because Zack said he'd never want to work for Disney because they wouldn't allow him to do what he wanted. But yeah, if he gets a free reign. But I personally think Zack is, even if I was asked to come back, if I was Zack, to DC, I wouldn't. I'd stay exactly where I was, in the place where I can do whatever the fuck I want. Amen, Hero, they've wrapped filming and we will get a teaser trailer early next year. I think they've completed shooting both movies now. So obviously they'll be in post, they'll be doing sound stuff and all of that. But a trailer early next year, as Zack promised. Everything Zack said is coming to fruition. You know one thing from a Zack movie, you get no delays, filming goes perfectly. If you leave Zack Snyder alone, nothing goes wrong. And if Zack Snyder was left alone, by now we would have a Superman movie, probably 2 Superman movies by now, a Batman origin movie, BVS, the Snyder Cut, 2 other Justice League movies, probably a Flash movie as well, probably a Green Lantern and a Cyborg movie. And if the Cyborg movie is anything like the first Wonder Woman movie, which Zack was heavily involved with, by the way, we would have got something really, really special. So getting rid of Zack Snyder was a mistake, everyone. And you can hype James Gunn as much as you want, and he's got his strengths. But I think Zack Snyder will be proven that he should have stayed. The worst decision, the decision that DC couldn't get back from. And they should have just ignored all the shit about BVS. They should have just ignored it and let it go and let people mock it. Because ultimately, Snyder could have answered all the question marks on that film in the next movie. At the end of the day, listen, in a way, I don't blame the studio. Because the tone of the conversation around BVS was problematic. There was a lot of hate towards it, and that would kind of put unease through any big company, wouldn't it? Abraham Herrera and his cast always in good spirits. No dramas on his set. I love that man. Yeah, because the director sets the tone. Being a director myself. So, as a director, I'm not a shouty director. You see those old films when you see, like, they show that shouty director with the cap on, right? But, yeah, shouty directors don't get the best results. You want a warm environment. you want people to be able to do their best work. You want people to come up to you and say, Mick, how about this? How about that? I don't have to do everything they suggest, but listening to people in this environment is so important, that you value people and people feel valued and they want to come into work and they want to do the work. And, if you direct someone, but they say, if an actor says to me, being an actor as well, and an actor says to me, what if I do this instead of doing that? And I think to myself, actually, you're going to do it a better way than I wanted you to do it. So this is why you get the ideas flowing. And, and this is what Zach does. Zach's got this. Now, mostly Zach gets what he wants to do, right? But actors do make suggestions. Ray Fisher, a lot of the stuff in the Cyborg stuff was suggested by Ray Fisher. Ray, Zach, and Chris Terrio, the writer, worked together on the Cyborg stuff in the Snyder Cut. And you can see it there. So these are the best ways to work as a creative. But also with James Gunn sets seem to have a good environment as well. But to be honest with you, when we see this BTS, of course you're going to see them getting on and laughing and joking. It's when the camera goes off, but we don't know what happens. Always remember that as well. There's a lot of PR in that. Rewind the times. Gunn is looking like he's a good number 2 guy, not a number 1. DC needs a true leader. Well, first of all, I want to wait and see how he does before I judge him. All I'm saying is, when I look at his strengths as a creative, I've always said this is a one-trick pony. So that worries me when you're supposed to be working with characters like Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. You don't really want them going down that kind of line. But he has to prove that he's not a one-trick pony. Because being the co-chair of DC Studios is a big responsibility. And, you've got to be, you can't just be one thing. He's not a writer and director anymore. He's a head of a studio. He's a co-chair of a studio. And you've got to be able to make good decisions. But I think there's a lot more going on behind the scenes than we know. And I think you and me are being used by him to prove to Slav that he should go with his pitch. His pitch sounds interesting. His pitch sounds good. But his pitch, we haven't heard the pitch totally, but the outline of the idea, which is basically one story within movies, TV, animation, and gaming. Sounds good. But what's the story? What's the story? So he keeps on saying he's making plans, this and that, but he hasn't even pitched those plans to the studio yet. So it seems a bit dumb for me. A bit dumb to be doing that, doesn't it? But so just to wrap this up and just kind of give you the headline. So I think it's very important. James Gunn and WB may not like context, but I do. So why we've done a video today and why DC Twitter has absolutely gone insane today is because the Hollywood Reporter have got a headline saying that DC Studios has rejected Patty Jenkins and Jeff Johns' Wonder Woman 3 script, as I told you they would, if they had any intelligence about them. And I said, this would show us what kind of leadership we have. Them rejecting Wonder Woman 3 is evidence, actually, they know what they're doing. So that gives me some confidence about Gunn, Safran, and Zaslav, because only a Muppet would have given her the green light in the first place for a Wonder Woman 3 after what she did with Wonder Woman 84. Come in, Toby Emmerich. That was down to him in the old leadership. So that's the headline. And then we look at other things and, he says a lot of different things. I think in terms of this headline, in terms of this article, the only thing at the moment you should look at is the fact that he's saying Wonder Woman 3 the script has been rejected. Patty Jenkins and Jeff Johns' script has been rejected. And also that it's in a state of flux right now and they haven't decided what direction to go in because Zaslav is waiting for the Gunn and Safran pitch first. Then I think they'll make a decision. So right now, it's best not to get our knickers in the twist. Everything's up in the air. Nothing has been decided. And it's all a bit of a mess. If only they just kept everything behind closed doors until they were ready to make a decision. And this is what happens, everyone, when you're James Gunn and you come out using your power on Twitter to try and get hype for yourself to get this gig. Because maybe he hasn't completely got this gig yet. If he has to green light his pitch, if he needs his pitch green lit, then is he really a full-time deal at Warner Brothers Discovery and at DC Studios? Is everything set in stone? Because if you read this article properly, it kind of suggests that maybe not even James Gunn and Peter Safran's future is set in stone. Now, isn't that interesting? Abraham Herrera seems like he's going the J.J. Abrams way. He will become a businessman and leave filmmaking behind. Don't forget he had a hand in destroying Star Wars with that Kennedy chick. Well, that was J.J. Abrams, not James Gunn, no. Rewind the times. Man, if David Zaslav didn't like their pitch, oh boy, it's going to be more up in the air. Like, well, yeah. If what they're saying is true and it hasn't been pitched yet, you know, you can pitch something. It doesn't mean, you know, this is where we are now. And this is why I am stunned that James Gunn's been talking as much as he has without even pitching his idea yet. That sounds insane to me. Insane. There's not really a plan there yet. There's a semblance of a plan. There's a semblance of multiple plans. As the man says, it's all in flux. Why would you go to the public before anything's been agreed? This exposes James Gunn, Peter Safran, and even David Zaslav. So we'll see if James Gunn responds. If he keeps quiet, that means this stuff is very, very true. If he comes out and doesn't say this stuff is fake, this is interesting. And isn't it interesting that he normally comes out straight away? Now, what he could be doing is being in conversation with David Zaslav right now, and they're probably planning how to react to this. Or they could just ignore it. If they ignore it, this is factual. If they don't ignore it, it'll be interesting what they say, because I'll always be able to read through the lines of their BS. So yes, it's been a very interesting live. I've enjoyed doing it. Great to have some people on here talking about, but it's a big headline. It's a big revelation, because what Boris Kitt has revealed is that we have a situation where no decisions are being made. Maybe that will happen. Maybe this will happen. Maybe we'll go that way. Maybe we'll go that way. So basically, people going on Twitter, it's a reboot. We don't know. We simply don't have any information or enough information. And if everybody involved just kept their mouth shut, we wouldn't be in this confusing state right now. Personally, I'm not confused. Either they're going to do A, either they're going to do B or C or D. That's where we are right now. We're no further along the board than that. And if that's the case, why are they even having Aquaman 2 test screenings? What's the point? They literally had Jason Momoa and Ben Affleck taking a picture together months ago, and people thought that Affleck was coming back. He's not in that test screening. Doesn't mean he won't be in the movie, but it's interesting. It's so awkward that Marvel is going through shit times, but in silence, and DC is doing it loudly. Yeah, pretty pathetic, right? Rewind the time. This headline is scary. It's the future of the DC. It's scary. Nothing should scare you. Nothing scares me. At the end of the day, we've been through all this before. You know, DC's been failing and failing. And, you know, that I will appreciate the good stuff that I like, that we've had through the years, even if it hasn't been successful. And that's all I can do. I can take the films that I appreciate. Man of Steel, BVS, Wonder Woman, you know, Aquaman. Basically, the films prior to these other people coming in. Like the good epic stuff. Man of Steel's epic. Aquaman's epic. Wonder Woman's epic. That's how I want to see my superhero movies. You're not going to see those kind of superhero movies. You're not going to see epic superhero movies under James Gunn. James Gunn doesn't make epic superhero movies. So if that's what you like, you're not going to get it anyway. Basically, something else. James Gunn was always coming to DC after Guardians 3, even as a creative. Peter Safran was already working with WB and DC. And these are the people that are being used as creatives, as the leads of DC Studios. But they were already there. They were the easy decision, and that's it. And that should trouble DC fans as well. Rewind the times. I agree, mate, but I'm so sick of failing. I want DC spoken with the likes of Marvel instead of people laughing at DC. Look, I feel your pain. I genuinely do. But at the end of the day, I won't allow millionaires to blunt my day, to blunt my feeling. I want to be stronger than that. I am stronger than that. So what I do is, instead of worrying about what's failing and what's working, I take the DC that I love and I enjoy it. The great animated movies, the great animated series, like the Justice League series and the Green Lantern animated series, and all the great DC live action films we've had, whether they failed or been successful. I can still enjoy a lot of DC content. I don't need a football league table to tell me how it's done and what money it's made. That doesn't affect me. That doesn't bother me. That doesn't interest me. Superman the movie, I love it. Superman 2, I love it. Superman 3, I love it. Superman 4, bad movie, but I love it. Man of Steel, I love it. Even the Green Lantern movie, I can enjoy from a certain angle. So Smallville, probably the only good DC franchise we've ever had that's actually got context to it and actually has done an arc. We started with, earning the right to be a superhero show, to building your own Justice League. And, at the end of the day, you can still enjoy DC stuff and don't let it upset you. Because there's lots of good DC material out there. Doom Patrol Season 1, outstanding. Arrow Seasons 1 and 2, outstanding. The Flash Seasons 1 and 2, outstanding. Rewind the times. I hear you, buddy. I battle depression and the DC is my escape. And to hear all these rumblings, it just sucks. What you got to do, right? I've had my bouts with depression and shit like that. But what I would suggest to you is focus on things that you enjoy. So DC is the place where you escape your depression. Well, there's DC stuff you love. Watch that. Focus on that. Don't worry about James Gunn. Don't worry about these people and articles. Just watch the DC you enjoy. That's it. That's all you have to do. Maybe one day in our lifetime we'll get great DC that people celebrate, but you shouldn't. You shouldn't be affected by what other people say about DC. If there's content that you love, and I know there is content that you love in DC, watch it and enjoy it. Focus on the stuff that you love and that will make you happy. And that's how life works. Abraham Herrera, Endgame and Infinity War don't come close to the beast DC animated movies. DC is still great, just not in the theatres. Well, I think there's great DC that's been in theatres. I've just labelled loads of them. I can tell you that Superman the movie, great in theatres. Superman 2, great in theatres. I love Superman 3 in theatres. I even enjoyed Superman 4 in theatres. I know generally that's not perceived as such, but it's all about my personal experience. Batman Begins, brilliant in theatres. The Dark Knight Rises. Man of Steel, BVS. Zack Snyder's Justice League, of course, wasn't in theatres, but that is a theatre when I put it on. So there's so much great DC that I personally think is great and I've enjoyed. Do you understand? Then you've got Batman 89, Batman 92. There's so much great DC. It's not about the box office. It's about your personal enjoyment of it. And your day shouldn't go north or south just because someone on social media said something negative about what you love. You love what you love. Right now, I'm rewatching Doctor Who. I love it. I love it. It means so much to me. What Russell T Davies did back in 2005, bringing it back 17 years later. Doctor Who is still here. And Russell's back to make it great again. We've got a great actor coming. We've got David Tennant right now is officially the Doctor. Exciting stuff when you've got the great people, involved. And there's no better person in entertainment, a writer like Russell T Davies. We're so lucky. We're so lucky in the Doctor Who fandom. What he did and how he brought it back was sensational. And Hollywood could do with someone like Russell T Davies and Stephen Moffat, two great writers. And Hollywood lack these type of writers because people like Moffat and Davies would never be involved with Hollywood because they know they're fraudulent. But that's the thing, and that's the point. And you see this article, and you see how creatively bankrupt these people are, and how clueless and undecided. I could go to them now and tell them exactly what they need to do, but they won't do it because they don't have the guts. And what they need to do, the only thing they need to do is, as hard as it is and as sad as it is, start from scratch and get tax write-offs on every of next year's movies. Give us a break from DC next year and start again. James Gunn needs to can his Peacemaker Series 2. Sorry, James, but you do. Everything. No Batman 2, no Batman spin-offs, nothing. Dump it all and start from scratch and say, I'm sorry. We want one universe, or you do something else. You just make individual standalone films. And maybe DC's better off with individual standalone films. Maybe it's too late for a franchise. Maybe a franchise isn't the way to go. Maybe just individual movies. Maybe the Batman 2 is the best way to go. Maybe Joker 2 actually is the best way to go. Just individual, standalone movies that are not connected to anything else. Maybe that's what DC do best. So let's see what DC do best. Well, actually, the Joker made $1 billion. And in the middle of a pandemic, the Batman made $750 million, which was outstanding. So actually, when you look at it, standalone movies do better, and standalone franchises do better for DC than a franchise. Let's look at this. Superman the movie, standalone franchise, Superman 2, Superman 3, big hits. Big hits. Sorry about the quality today when my voice goes funny, but anyway, the first 3 Superman films, big hits, standalone franchise. Batman 89, Batman 92, standalone franchise, did great. Do you see where we're going here? You see how the Batman standalone franchise did great. The Joker standalone franchise did great. So when you compare that to what happened with the DCEU, now it's not because DC can't do a connective universe if the right people are involved. It's the fact that it's more complicated. It's more difficult to garner the trust of the audience now, because maybe interconnected universes have had their day and people are kind of done with that. And maybe I'll do this in my video later on. I'll do a 20-minute, half an hour video, a proper video, where we talk about all these issues. So please tune in later on. I'm very excited to be doing that. But yeah, maybe Matt Reeves and Todd Phillips are the future. Maybe people have had enough. Maybe an interconnected universe isn't the right thing for DC. Maybe we should take lesser risk, because doing individual franchises have less risks to them. You make the movie, if it works, it works, you do more. If it doesn't, it doesn't. That's how they used to do it, wasn't it? Batman Begins, Superman Returns. Batman Begins had a trilogy. Superman Returns didn't have another one because it didn't really work, but you can still go back and appreciate Superman Returns. Oh, it's my old buddy John. Hey, Mick, what's going on with DC today? Well, John, please don't tell me you don't know what's going on with DC today. But if you don't know, I'll quickly update you because I'm going off the air very soon. But basically, yes, Wonder Woman 3's script by Jeff Johns and Patty Jenkins has been rejected. There's lots of rumours out there from a Boris Hollywood Reporter article. You should check it out yourself. We've gone all through it on this video. But there's a lot of things going with DC. And basically, my friend, they don't know what they're doing and they don't know what direction to go in. And so everything is in flux right now. So basically, we're in as big a mess as we always have been. Ryan Dawn of Hope, DCU fan, cinematics. This was a little unexpected, but a necessary decision of rebooting DCU. I disagree with DC standalone only films, though. Well, you must get clear, Ryan. I love your comments. Always love your comments. You always got something great to say. But what I will say, Ryan, don't take it as read that we're getting a reboot, because this is an article. This is not an official statement. What the article actually says is that they're in flux and they don't know which way to turn. So we don't know which way they're doing. A reboot is something that I would like. Now, in terms of the standalone stuff, I just feel that there's less risk to it. And you can do lots of great things and lots of great stories. And I know, like, the average DC fanboy wants to capture that Marvel Cinematic Universe vibe. maybe that cinematic universe takes away depth, takes away great storytelling, and maybe creates something that's just a stepping stone. And the last thing you want from a film is for it to just be a stepping stone. You know, I think of the Charlie Chaplin movies, and if they'd just been a cinematic universe, and if each film was just a stepping stone, how we would have been robbed of absolute genius. If Laurel and Hardy had a cinematic universe and their little shorts on TV and their movies, Way Out West and all of that were just stepping stones, what we would have lost. If the original Star Wars trilogy was just a stepping stone franchise, what we would have lost. And I could go on and on. If the original Lord of the Rings trilogy was just stepping stone movies to create a huge 50-movie franchise, what we would have lost. So that's why I feel that the movie interactive franchise may sound exciting, but ultimately, when you turn movies into stepping stones, because what's happened in these universes is they've gone the TV idea, where you have a series arc, don't you? And you have a series finale. This is what the Marvel Cinematic Universe basically is. And it worked on a smaller scale in the first two phases, but once it went to streaming and it got too big, it became overcomplicated. Also, they became aggressively progressive, and that was a problem as well. So I do think there's an argument here to discuss, at least have a discussion. Maybe, do we want to turn films into stepping stones? How many MCU movies are great movies? I think Iron Man is a great movie. I think the first Captain America is a great movie. I think the first four is an okay movie, made by an amazing director. Amazing that they ever got that director. And I think The Incredible Hulk is a really good cinematic movie. But after the first Avengers, this is where it all changed. They went down this cameo thing and Easter egg thing because they saw that in a movie where they had all the superheroes together, they made loads of money. So they decided, because prior to that, their movies, I know there was post-credit scenes and there was a link. I know that. But they did their own thing. The early movies, Iron Man 2, Thor, The Incredible Hulk, Captain America, the First Avenger, they still had their own story within their movies. Now it's become ridiculously kind of interconnected. And these movies have just become stepping stone movies. That's why I rate higher the phase one movies than the other movies, because at least they were trying to make movies. Now, what we're seeing from DC and Zaslav is he's going with the Marvel formula because he thinks it's going to make the most money, not create the most quality. This is a fat cat CEO who just wants to make money and is not interested in the artistic integrity of movies. John, the Wonder Woman 3 story must have been pretty bad if WB rejected it. Well, I don't think it's just simply about the story, but you probably got a point considering these are the people who did Wonder Woman 84. But also, apparently, it's not part of James Gunn's vision. It doesn't fit within James Gunn's vision. So that's an interesting thing. Apparently, we don't know how true that is. So, guys, I could talk to you all day, but I want a cup of tea and a cigarette. I know, terrible habit, drinking tea. But, yeah, I've really enjoyed today. So, spread the news about the channel. And remember, I'm on Twitter @MoviesTVMad. If you don't have a Twitter, create a Twitter and follow me @MoviesTVMad. You may enjoy the experience of being on social media. Don't be intimidated. I'll protect you. But spread the news, because I think I'm pretty good. I think I'm good at what I do. I know the camera quality, the internet quality isn't always great. I concede that, but I think I inform you. Watching my channels is informative, and I think we have a bit of a laugh sometimes. And I think you should follow me. And I think I'm better than someone like. Look, I like Boba Talks. I think he's really, really good, but I also think he doesn't see the big picture as I do. So I'd like Boba. I'd love to do a video with him one day. I'm not saying you shouldn't be watching it. I'm saying I'm different. Someone like Boba Talks is successful. He wants to stay successful. And I mean, a lot of the actors who work on these different DC shows love Boba. So I'm not doing Boba down. I'm just saying that he isn't going to look at the bigger picture. Yes, he'll review stuff and talk about different things, but he won't tell you what you can expect. And when you hear news that it's bullshit, I'm not going to really do reviews of DC TV because I don't really rate much DC TV anymore. I thought that Doom Patrol had a great first season, then went down with series 2 and 3. Personally, I think Titans is okay, but it doesn't interest me a great deal. So this is why you won't see me talking about a lot of that stuff, but I am interested in the DC cinematic universe and what's going to happen. And we've always discussed that. Ryan, right, I'm just going to call you Ryan. I am not saying get rid of standalone films. I'm saying let's have different varieties of films. And I know it's not going to happen, but that's what will be good for DC. Well, that actually looks like it is part of James Gunn's plan to keep the Batman stuff. Well, between you and me, that's Zaslav who wants to keep the Batman and the Joker stuff. But so we're going to get a mixture. But what I'm saying to you is, when you've got a cinematic universe, the care and consideration into its story and its quality isn't the same as other films, as your average old-fashioned type film that actually focuses on doing a story and focuses on the performances. It's all about speeding through. And I know what you're saying, have a bit of everything. But when I hear Zaslav talking about, using the MCU blueprint, that concerns me because that's someone who's just doing something because he thinks it's going to make most money. It's not about art. It's not about making great content. And that's the problem. And this is what you lose. And yes, have a bit of everything. And that's great. And I hope we can have more like standalone movies as well as a movie franchise. I just feel that from what we're getting from this article, they don't know which way to turn. And that to me is mystifying, considering it's easy to know what to do. You start from scratch. You burn everything. I said this from the very beginning. Get tax write-downs from next year's movies, cancel everything else, and start from scratch. It's a huge thing to do. It's a controversial thing to do. You do your own thing from the beginning, because this simply hasn't worked. That's what you do. Because I don't think that using the characters that Zach cast is necessarily going to work, right? Because they were Zach's vision. And like Henry Cavill wants to play a more hopeful Superman, but we've seen what type of Superman he is already. How can he go from one extreme to the other extreme? Isn't that going to seem weird? That's another thing. That's another question to ask as well, isn't it? Rewind the times exactly, Mick. If they don't use anything or anyone from the next 4 movies, 2023 is a big waste. Well, I did tell you this, didn't I? I did warn you. I did warn you that next year's movies were a waste of time. But he finally said that he's shepherding next year's movies. Movies he hasn't even made, have got nothing to do with. What are you going to do? What does shepherding them mean? So every time he speaks, you DC fans go, oh my God. But I look through the bullshit. I'm like Superman. I can see through people. And it doesn't win me a lot of friends. It doesn't win my channel a lot of friends. And that's okay. I'll sit here talking to myself. I'm used to talking to myself, right? Because I'm mentally impaired. And that's okay. I don't mind admitting that. My best friend is me. That's the person I like talking to. So it's fine. I enjoy talking to you guys. But if I drive you all away, I'm comfortable with that. Because I'd rather be myself on these things, right? Then I could be bullshit. I'm an actor. I can pretend. I could do stuff. I could do other stuff, right? I could spend money on editing software and bullshit like that. But I don't want them. If I can't become successful on my own merits as me, I don't want to be successful at all. So I'm very comfortable about the state of the channel. That's fine. But at the end of the day, I am not going to shill people. I'm not going to pretend I agree just to win. Because that's really winning. Pretending isn't winning, is it? How can I be somebody else when I've got all these thoughts and feelings and I see this bullshit? Whether bringing in Zack Snyder in the first place was a mistake or not, jettisoning him and getting rid of him early was the bigger mistake. And we'll never know. We'll never know if he did release the Snyder Cut in cinemas back in 2017. And it wasn't 4 hours. Let's say it wasn't 4 hours. It was 2.5, 3 hours, or whatever it was going to be, right? Maybe that would have been a hit. Maybe that would have been as big a hit as the first Avengers by Joss Whedon. Who knows? We'll never know now. They didn't trust the audience because they were so triggered by that reaction. And critics' reaction to Suicide Squad, by the way, which wasn't David Ayer's fault because his film was jettisoned as well. So Warner Brothers, the old leadership, to be fair to people there now, weren't the people there then. But the interference in the Snyder vision was the reason it really went bad. And now you've got people who don't really know what way to turn. And obviously James Gunn is solid on his idea. But if James Gunn wants to start again, I support that because I think you can't. Look, they've tried to bring these actors with Justice League and rewrite what the franchise does. It hasn't worked. Hamada was going to do a multiverse strategy and try for a second time to use these actors, change the timeline. Was that going to work? Well, from what I can see, what they were planning, no. The idea of a multiverse strategy could still work. But what they were doing, which was no Superman, no Batman, well, apart from an old age Batman, a black Superman in another universe, come on. So I don't know James Gunn's exact plan. I only know about what he said. It sounds interesting, but I would need more details to tell you whether I like it or not. And is James Gunn capable? That's the thing. He's never done this before. He's never been a co-chair of a studio before. So we don't know. But yeah, it is interesting to take risks on people. Personally, I like taking risks on people coming out of film schools instead of using the same old people all the time. George Lucas was fresh out of film school when he made his movies. When he made Star Wars: A New Hope. He wasn't long out of film school. And at first, it didn't work out for him. But then, he got more proficient in his art. And, look what we got. He changed, there was a cultural change with the first Star Wars. Because films back then, before that, were very down and, realistic based. There's a lot of realistic base today. I think there's too many people making superhero movies today who don't like the fantasy of it and like the reality of it and the grit of it. And I think that's taking away from escapism. There's not enough escapism in cinemas today. Rewind the times. Gunn seems to focus on the obscure characters. That gets me nervous because we need the main ones first and then build off of them. Well, you don't necessarily need to start with the main ones, but you do need Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, The Flash, and all those people, and Green Lantern. You need those characters. You can't just sideline them and go small, because you want to make money. But ultimately, the mistake here is not knowing what to do yet and, not being in flux, because behind the scenes, you can have those discussions. The mistake is having James Gunn teasing stuff that he hasn't even, pitched yet. That's where the mistake is. That's where it gets embarrassing. Having Henry Cavill coming out saying he's back as Superman, when now we're hearing he's not. So what's the truth? Who knows? And these are the things. That's the thing. I can understand. I've been in the development process. I've had pages all over my fucking room. I don't know which direction I'm going to go with a story that I'm writing for the theatre. And I've got pages, I'm typing, and literally at times I'm fucking crying because I don't know what direction I'm going to do. And I've got them from the theatre on the other end of the phone, or they're sending me emails. Is it done yet? Are you ready to tell us what you're doing with this next performance? And there's a lot of pressure. But the point is, I wouldn't talk about any of that publicly. Not that anyone did, apart from the small band from the theatrical group I work with. But the point is, when you're working on something, keep quiet. David Zaslav was there. And it is very interesting. If there was a plan to bring back Cavill's Superman before Gunn and Safran came in, right? That means he was going to go with other people to run DC Studios. And it's like he suddenly changed his mind quickly and went James Gunn and Peter Safran. So this guy Zaslav can change his mind on the roll of the dice. I don't like that. That means you can't trust him. It's like he saw the results of Black Adam, didn't like those results, then Gunn and Safran came in. because I don't think Gunn and Saffron were announced, were they, before Black Adam was released? Or am I wrong? I can't remember now. I have to check my dates. So it sounds like this, or I think Gunn and Saffron had just been announced. Maybe. But it does sound like this guy changes on a spin of a dice, a spin of a coin. And that's a bit worrying because he kind of goes with what he thinks is going to make loads of money. It sounds like Zaslav may be a little bit clueless. Don't you? Because this is the guy who thinks calling HBO Max is a good idea. Instead of calling it Warner Brothers Max or keeping the HBO, the three of the most prestigious letters in the entertainment industry. So maybe this guy isn't the real deal we thought he was. And I'm starting to get a bit worried about this Zaslav character as well. But we will see because we don't know anything for sure right now. It's just an article. But where the articles come from is quite interesting. Rewind the times. David Zaslav seems to be chasing the money. And that's okay, but you can't only be chasing the money. You need quality to get the money. Rewind the times. November the 1st, Gunn took over. October the 21st, Black Adam came out. Thank you for that. So this is interesting. So clearly, Zaslav decided to bring Cavill back before Gunn and Saffron came in, right? This is on October the 21st. I think once he saw the money, the box office wasn't too good, even with Cavill involved, that's where he shit himself. He clearly was going to go with another persons or people for DC Studios, co-chairs or just the chair of DC Studios. I think that maybe he was going to go with Dan Lin, then shit himself. And then maybe it wasn't Dan Lin, maybe it's someone else we don't know about. Who knows? Maybe it was Christopher Nolan. Who knows? But anyway, maybe the box office for Black Adam shit him up. And that's when he decided to go with James Gunn and Peter Safran, who were probably in his ear already. It looks like the opening weekend of the box office is why we went from whoever they were doing. And maybe, because don't forget The Rock was saying stuff like phase one. Maybe this nutjob Zaslav was planning on giving $7 or whatever they are, $9 or $7 Productions, Dwayne The Rock Johnson's production company, full power on DC Studios, and they were going to run DC Studios. Maybe he was actually going to do something crazy, which I think would have been fucking insane. Then, when he saw the Black Adam box office, he changed his mind, and then he went to Safran and Gunn. If that's the case, everyone, then we have got someone that's quite dangerous and changed their minds. Because if Gunn and Safran do get their pitch like greenlit, and one movie only makes 600 million and just make $1 billion, are we going to have visions deleted every time a box office isn't what it is? That's problematic because you can't. You've got to be patient with a franchise. You can't. This is what happened with the DCEU. They weren't patient. If they were patient with Snyder's vision, I think it would have come to fruition. I genuinely believe that. Because Snyder had a lot of baggage from Watchmen and stuff. Because some people just didn't like Watchmen. So you had to give the new vision time to settle, because this isn't just a movie, it's a franchise. So it wouldn't surprise me if he was going for $7, then saw the box office to Black Adam, then went Gunn and Safran, who were already in his ear already. And I think, my friends, this is exactly what happened. Now, if this is true, this doesn't thrill me with a lot of confidence. Rewind the times. I was going to say maybe Lin backed out. Could have screwed up some plans of his. Not necessarily backed out. I think maybe we're talking about $7 and The Rock running things at one stage. And then when Black Adam flopped, he then went to Gunn and Safran, who are already at DC anyway. Rewind the times. The Rock talks like he knows a lot, like he knows the Black Adam franchise is going forward. Yet Gunn hasn't agreed with any of that. Usually where there's smoke, there is fire. The problem is, maybe there was a plan originally for The Rock and his production company to run things. And that's where all that shit's coming from. And then they went quickly from that to Gunn and Safran. Now, people are going to say to me, no way, surely Zaslav's not this flippant. I have a bad feeling this guy is extremely flippant. This has been the DC Universe Daily Live, one of my longest, best episodes yet going live. So please like, share, and subscribe. Please let everyone know who I am. I'm Mick, your host with the most. Just ask your girlfriends and your wives. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you never miss this beautiful perfection. And I'll see you again in the next video. Until I see you again, goodbye, au revoir, auf Wiedersehen. Rewind the times. The whole thing sounds a mess right now. It certainly does rewind the times. Look out for my pre-recorded editorial video later, because I'm going to have so much more to say on this subjects, because you're right. We're in the same old mess again and again. And it's about making a decision and sticking to it. And this is what they need to do going forward. Thank you very much, everyone. It's been a hoot. Thank you.